What's going on, everybody? Cali Death Podcast back once again, episode 96. I'm Anthony, your host. With me, as always, my resident homies and co-host Joel and Casey are with me tonight. The professor, unfortunately, won't be here, but we'll have him back soon. And tonight we're joined with an old friend of ours, a guy all three of us have worked in multiple various projects and albums, and our fifth guest also. What's your our fifth? Oh yeah, Knives
This
as
is
well.
Knives the cat.
We'd like to welcome Knives to the podcast.
Yeah,
This
Knives.
is an 18.5 pound cat is what this is.
18-year-old
I'm sorry,
cat,
18
too,
and a
right?
half year old cat. He's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
18.5 pounds. It's about 12
I'm like,
pounds.
damn, it's a heavy
Is that
cat.
heavy for a cat? 18 and a half
He's
pounds?
been 18. He was that like 10 years ago. He's lost some of that girth.
Okay.
You know how old cats be.
What up,
Yeah, yeah.
Knives? And what up to y'all? Like I said, we've worked with this guy many times, and we've had him on the list for a long time. Glad it's finally happening. What's going on, Zach? We got Zack Ohren tonight.
Well, I think we all apparently just watched football. And
I actually
did.
didn't catch any, but
I did.
that's what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys are doing. You guys were talking near fantasy.
Oh yeah,
football
yeah.
shit
It just
before we
kicked
got
off
on.
today. It's like my Christmas today a little bit, but
Why
I feel
is
like
that?
that's Sunday.
Because it started. Oh, it just
it's Sunday.
started.
Yes, it's just like it's like an initial kickoff. Like there's a Thursday game every week, so they decided to like make this big, huge matchup for the first game. You know, it's like the two best teams or whatever.
This is definitely
So-
Joel's happiest time of the year for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
dude.
It's like 200 days without it, so finally got back on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into anything else, dude, let's do some plugs real quick. Battleforgecoffee.com, the homies in Deeds of Flesh. Casey's repping them tonight on his beautiful new Deeds of Flesh shirt. What up? But yeah, support
Those
the
dudes are
homies.
fresh.
Also, go buy that album if you haven't yet. I'm on it. Zach was involved in it. Boom.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, did you do the whole thing?
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't record it. I mixed
Mixed it.
and
Got it.
mastered. I guess yes, mixed and
Nice.
mastered that record.
Awesome.
That was I mean, that whole record was like 3-4 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were going a lot back and forth. I mean, Eric signed off on what was a final mix of the instrumentals while he was diving into doing vocal stuff. So,
Wow.
I certainly didn't expect it could have come out as amazing as it did in the end. That was a really great way to finish that project
hell
the
yeah.
way we did.
Totally, dude. And another thing that I'm proud of.
How audible
working
is
on
that?
I love
with
it.
you.
That's good. It's great. I love
We
it.
like
Okay.
it. We like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want more.
Okay.
Knives had something to say about it too, dude.
Yeah, it's all good.
He's like, I
Knives
remember when
is like-
Zach was working on this too.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, go support them with their coffee company. It's good coffee, and they got merch and shirts and all that kind of shit, mugs, boom. And then
Dudes who fish.
still don't have any Cali Death Pod merch for you guys yet. Eventually, we'll get something going, but it'll be there at cattle.
CalDecapitation.org. Well,
Cattle Decap Podcast at BigCartel.com.
Yeah.
oh
I
man.
fucked it up, but you guys know CaliDeathPodcast.BigCartel.com. And with Zach, you got anything you want to plug? top?
I'm playing the Elbow Room in Oakland next week with my band Darkness Everywhere on Friday.
So what date would
I
that
don't
be?
know.
No.
What day would that be?
Date.
Was it 16th? 16th?
Yeah, it's the 16th. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And I don't know. I've got like 18 different albums out right now, so I don't want to play favorites. The new Machine
Is there a
Head's
central
out, the new
website?
Sarcopsis is out. Not really.
No.
How do people get a hold of you if they're like, want to they like your recordings and stuff, and how do they get a hold of you to like set that up?
They literally usually I'd say just Google me. I mean,
Mhm.
if you go to castleultimate.com, it just takes you to my Facebook, so I get a lot through Facebook,
Mhm.
a lot occasionally through Instagram. Mostly just people have my phone number. It's really easy to find.
Yeah.
I'd say it out
Uh-huh.
loud right now.
And what's your phone number? Oh,
It's 510-676-1190.
That's a plug right there.
Phone
I
number.
guess
The phone
it's
number.
Direct connect right there. Anybody who watches
Yeah.
this, you got connect.
or Zack at castleultimate.com is still my email, has been for like 20 plus years now.
Is
Nice.
Castle Ultimate still is it's still like what is it like a parent company for what you do now?
No, I don't have a parent company. I'm a freelance engineer
So
essentially, but
it's still when you record at Sharkbite, it's still Castle. You put Castle Ultimate Studios as
I
the
don't put that.
company.
No, I
Okay.
haven't done that since 2013 because the place down the hall. Casey and Joel know what I'm talking about, but
Mhm.
Castle Ultimate Studios, which was really Castle Ultimate Studios 5, because it was our fifth location,
Hmm.
Yeah.
became Machine Head's headquarters, which is literally like a hall down for where I usually do my tracking type work at Sharkbite, and I do a lot of my work here at
Nice.
home
That's
or
crazy.
wherever, but
Is that where
mostly those two places.
they rehearse there, right? That's like where they're rehearsing, right?
They
They're hang
rehearse, they do their streaming. I mean, that was unforeseen. That was a very unforeseen benefit. It was a very last minute thing because I think when my old studio partner Aaron was going to leave the studio in 2019, I think it was, I guess. Yeah, it was 2019. He had told me I had found out that it was probably going to just get torn down and turned into something else. And when that was about to happen, I had to do a session down the hall with Rob from Machine Head that day, and I said off the cuff, it'd be funny if you just took the studio. Do you want a studio for any reason, man? And we both laughed, and then 2 weeks later, after he went camping, he comes back. He's like, "I've been thinking about it. I think I want the studio."
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I don't even know if that's a possibility, but talk to the owner Ryan about it, and he did, and they worked it all out, and they even like left the desk that was in there because moving it is one of the silliest things you can ever do is move one of those recording desks with like perfectly positioned and EQ'd speakers. And Aaron took most of his gear but left some of that. But that became immediately a huge asset because first Rob starts his podcast, which he was having guests in person in that room. And then a pandemic, a global pandemic that has lasted through today is
Hmm.
ongoing and kept Machine Head grounded from touring, and instead they started doing more and more elaborate weekly live streams till we spent the last year of it just doing full blown once a week shows that were, broadcast on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook
Hmm.
simultaneously that were getting, we're keeping them afloat too during the pandemic. And now they're finally back out on tour with them on Marth, but they spent a long time just going there 5 days a
Yeah.
week, either working on the new album or working on performing. And it's just funny because they wouldn't have been able to do that from their old practice studio. I can't see it working very well.
Right. So
Do
they
they
got
have
in
like
at the nick of time.
do they have like old or do they have old Jesus? That's an old Machine Head song is old on the first album. But do they have like jobs? Like are they just fully committed to music?
No, they're definitely fully committed to being in the band. I
Okay.
mean, I'm pretty certain that the members all get salaried through their company and such.
Yep. Definitely.
It's not like they're employed by Nuclear Blast, they're employed by Machine Head,
Machine Head
which,
Inc.
they're managed by Joey Houston. He does a good job with everything, keeping
Yeah.
that
Just
all
just to
running.
rewind real quick. When I said parent company, that was a dumb fucking thing to say. I meant
Well, no,
because
not
I knew it
really.
was your company. I knew it was your company, but I was saying like because you know how people because
Oh, yeah,
Joel
yeah.
just hit it with the incorporated. So I'm like, is Castle Ultimate Incorporated? And then
Nope.
you work under
No, it's
Sharkbite?
not.
No.
No. We never. We originally were going to be a partnership, then looked into that, didn't seem to make sense. We, I mean, we abandoned anything to do with really starting a business as opposed to just freelancing the way we do a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's, especially now, I don't own a studio. I work out of somebody else's studio
Hmm.
constantly,
Hmm.
and that's been a really good arrangement, honestly. I thought
Totally.
I was very scared to go into doing things that way, and I mean, things have gone spectacularly well, frankly, for the most part. It does feel
Yeah.
weird that I don't have a studio, like I don't have a tracking studio of my own that I bring bands into, but I'm almost a decade into not having a studio, and I don't miss it. I do
Yeah,
not
yeah.
miss it. It started letting me focus on being a better producer, frankly.
One question I actually wanted to elaborate on because I definitely told my dad this when you told me this, but you know
Oh
how they
boy.
ripped the board? They ripped the board out of the
Oh yeah,
studio.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was like the project that Casey and stuff and I were doing were like that was the last thing that was done on that board. So you said something
By
about
me.
possible, yeah, by you.
I think
Damn it, I'm just
something
kidding.
else might have happened.
But the one
Well,
thing
it
I
was
wanted to
close. It
know,
might have been.
yeah, yeah, no, it was right at the war. I remember like you were showing pictures of it getting ripped out or something. You like posted something about that, but
Hmm.
I wanted to know like. Did you get any more confirmation about the Pink Floyd thing you were saying? As far as like it was the wall
No.
was done on it or
Yeah,
something?
I'm pretty sure the wall was mixed on that board. That was the rumor
Jesus.
I've been told a million times, so I'm pretty sure that's correct. I thought it was Dark Side
Damn.
of the Moon, and then I was corrected and told it was the wall.
What's that?
Uh,
Some
That's-
sort of a rock
That's
album.
crazy though, dude.
I know
So
they,
what?
had-
It's just this
it had that
traveling
one-hit
mixing board.
wonder.
It's a one hit wonder. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, what's it called? Another brick in the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
remember
that's
you guys like said that in the studio, and I just like, I was like, whoa, and I like looked at the board, and I was like, whoa, I like tripped
It
out on the
just
board. I was
started
like,
to glow.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, I gotta. It's like an
It's
important
scrap
board.
metal now, literally.
Fuck.
He sold it
Jesus.
for. I mean, the
Yeah,
thing,
well,
the
you know.
board. I think he kept the channels intact somewhere. I don't know. I haven't been in a lot of communication. He's been doing a lot because it's not just the board he's replacing. He's swapping out the floor, which
That's
is. I
crazy
mean,
to
everything
think.
that's been there's been there since '98, and I think
If
he was like,
the
okay,
wall
it's
was
time.
done on it, you know, other albums were done on that too that you don't know, hear the rumors about. You know,
I can
that,
name a few more. I mean,
that'd
like
be cool.
I guess that I'm sure of. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Now I've got to actually do it. Here, let me look it up. Let me look up some good answers to that. But
So
everything I've
what's the story of this board? Like,
Yeah. How did he
nothing.
acquire that?
I don't even know that he did. He bought the studio, so it's hard for me to say that I
Anthony,
know
so it
about
was
that.
already in there.
Yeah, I mean the place was built in '98 by two guys that I've never met. That
Okay.
I believe that's the story behind it. I'm
And
trying
what
to
are you
see if
looking
they
up?
happen to have. I'm looking up they like albums done here, but I guess that's not something they keep on their. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so I know High on Fire recorded some albums there. Uh, The Blackening by Machine Head's a pretty good, well-known record. Exodus recorded there. Ghost in the City. All the American Steel stuff's been recorded there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of stuff. I want to say there's been a lot more that I will regret saying if I'm like a little bit wrong, and I'm, you know.
No, that's all good, dude.
I mean, as far as
That's
like
cool,
classic
dude.
shits, like After the Wall, like was like Nevermind recorded there or something. I don't
Okay,
know.
I didn't say the wall was recorded there though. That's definitely not the
Oh,
case.
record? No, no, recorded there. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
No,
that board is from
that board.
'78, but the studio's from '98.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
As
So it
far
was
as I
acquired
know.
somehow. Yeah, yeah. I know that.
I'm terrible with the history stuff here.
No, I was watching like a long time ago on HBO. Like Dave Grohl had like some sort of special on there, and he was talking about the board that he had, and I think it was something. I think a Pink Floyd album was on that as well, and a couple other ones. But he bought it for like 400 grand. Like that was like it was so like historic, and the albums that it recorded that it was like for sale for over like a $500,000. You know, so that's where I was like, he's scrap metal now. That's like if it was actually the wall on that, not to discredit it, but if it was actually the wall
I
on
don't
it, I would
know.
think that'd be like a $500,000.
Well,
You know?
Trip, it's like,
I don't think
He-
it works that way though. Like it's just like some one piece that was used on it. It's not
yeah,
like that's crazy. I actually your story makes so much less sense because it's one of those things that nobody actually people think they care, but then they don't.
yeah.
I know a wall.
I was gonna go off on the whole like
Pink Floyd
energy in
collector.
buildings thing that you could maybe get hippy dippy and say the energy of some of those records stayed in there. You know?
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
and will.
yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say it got so I mean the board is so weathered and had so much done on it that I started to know different channels of it sounded different. And it wasn't like, most stuff you use these days, if you think like, oh, my purple audio tracks sound different than my blue audio tracks, you're just a psycho. But this is the sort of thing where it's old, it's not even a discrete board, and it has like some of the EQs make totally different sounds. They were all very unique by the time it was retired.
Hmm.
So, you know.
So now that it's gone, what are you working on?
Oh, it's not. They haven't even installed a new one yet, or
Oh, so
if
you'll be
they have, I
you would
haven't
just
been
be
there yet.
so that's being replaced with a new board when you
That's right.
yeah, okay.
It may have
Quick,
already been replaced. I forgot the schedule, but that's coming along. I know.
can we get nerdy? Another thing that you told me too is those monitors that you have in there that were like they're like 15 grand monitor because people like have monitors
Oh
in their
yeah,
home studios and stuff. Like what brand was that and
those are
what makes them so
Barefoot
expensive?
Micromain 2s, I think.
Okay.
2 meaning like Series 2. I think they're
Okay.
on like Series 4 now. I don't know. Haven't been following. But that's what they had there. That's also what we had down the hall. We used those speakers were originally in a mastering studio across the hall because you guys have been there. There's like actually 5 recording studios in that hallway, all of them
Hmm.
much smaller than Sharkbite. But there used to be a mastering suite, and they had the exact Barefoots that are now in there. We used to have Genelecs, and they at some point, I don't know, I want to say feels like almost 10 years ago, replaced them with the Barefoots, and then no, it was longer than that. It was probably like 2012 because then Aaron and I went and got our own set of Barefoots down in LA used from some weird guy, but
Is
they
that
work.
basically the top of the line? That's the top of the line for monitors. Is that like what you would say would be number one?
I, I don't know. I mean, 10, 12 years ago, they're very nice. I mean, there's so many lines of monitors. People get custom made ones that are totally unlabeled, just made by, you know, some speaker designer. So I'm saying there could be a higher line. There's always something more boutique. But yeah, they're pretty high end speakers.
Definitely,
Sure.
definitely. So
I'm a
should we
big
start
fan of
the
them.
should we
Well,
start
I was just
the
about to
old
say, so we
go
we
ahead.
can gear nerd again later, but
Yeah, yeah.
If you just do the
let's get
episode
in.
backwards, so at the very end he goes into his childhood, like
No, it's all good. I mean, it doesn't really need to always be
Child.
right to it, but yeah, dude.
oh
So
no,
what
we
we
want to
what
we
we
want to
usually
learn about childhood.
on the show, the first
Yeah.
question I usually ask is, think of back to a time when you were a kid and you were your attention was grabbed by hearing a song or a melody or something like that, like one of the earliest memories you could think where music like became something more than just you know
Okay.
background music.
I think it was never background music in my case. I mean, I had a
Okay.
piano in the house. I want to say like I'm trying to think how early to think this question, but I'd say the first thing that comes to mind in a weird way would be Moonlight Sonata, I guess. And
Okay.
like tried to learn to play that on a piano when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Hmm.
And I mean, I never really learned to play piano well, but that was the first instrument that was in my house, and I was constantly, as a little kid, just had these giant earphones on, like playing records. Oh, I remember I liked the Star Wars Disco album, if you guys know what I'm talking about.
I don't, but that sounds awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like the Star Wars like played like funk, galactic funk or
Hell
something.
yeah, dude. I want to check this out, dude.
Oh, I mean, it's like Cantina song and all that. You've heard it, I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah.
It's just that stuff, but it's like a full length like soundtrack record. I remember that was probably the first music I was really listening to as a small child.
Were
I
your
mean,
parents,
small
well,
child.
obviously you had a piano in the house. Who was playing? Was it both your parents, your mom, your dad? Who?
Neither of them really played piano. My mom sings, my dad played. I mean, they knew how, but it was there. I don't know why we had a piano in retrospect. I guess because it's like the instrument people who are musicians always, use as a bass
Gravitate to,
line.
yeah.
But like my brother's a professional classical guitarist, and
Huh.
I never really liked playing piano. Piano bothered me from day one. It's not something. It never felt right to me.
So your brother, how many siblings did you have?
Just him, just Andrew,
Are you the younger, older?
younger. So he's like
Okay.
4 years older than me.
So he's already playing music around the house too at that
Oh
time,
yeah, I
or
mean, by the time I was 11, my brother was this guitar prodigy that was, taking lessons from some hotshot guy and impressing everybody. He'd always have the guitar out and just, yeah, to this day. I mean, anywhere he goes, he has a classical guitar with him and is ready to play.
So was that kind of like looking up to Big Brother? You wanted to get to, because did you start? Did you
Maybe
pick
more
up the guitar?
musical taste, because I was listening at that point when I was a little kid. I was listening to just like MC Hammer rap stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
pop music, Michael Jackson or something. And my
Crisscross.
brother
Hell yeah.
was into like, he had Led Zeppelin albums and he had just gotten into Master of Puppets and all that stuff and introduced me to like Primus and all the stuff I suddenly started hearing in like 1991 or so. And so that's probably when I got into more the rock side of things.
Mm-hmm.
It immediately grabbed on and then wanted, just wanted to know more and more and more. And by the time I'm 12, I finally started playing guitar.
That was the
Okay.
next instrument. Okay.
Well, no, I played like, like every little kid that gets forced into a band class, I like picked flute and played flute for years
Mm-hmm.
before I ever got into guitar. But the second I was into guitar, it became my primary focus in life, I would say,
Hell yeah.
almost
It's,
immediately.
so what was like the first song you tried to learn on guitar? Can you remember?
I can't say like the first song, but it was probably Metallica stuff. I got really into Metallica really quickly.
So he
So,
showed you Master of Puppets, and then it was just off to the races from there.
and it was more like I just like borrowed his CDs and his tapes, I should say. I'm sure it was tapes, and then eventually started copying my own. And I had already been into like walking around recording things. And like he got a 4-track and I started messing with that, I was more into the recording than the music already back then.
Yeah. So
But
you say walking around like what? Just recording weird shit, weird
actually, I
noises.
mean, apparently a lot of little kids do this, but I had like a Fisher Price tape recorder, and like I would spend hours in my backyard as a small child, like 3 to 5 year old child, just recording endless hours of taped footage of myself,
Oh,
like
dude. I had a
narrating
talk
episodes
boy.
of television.
I had a talk boy, the contraption that
Radio Flyer.
no, it was Home Alone 2.
Home Alone.
Oh
The
yeah, I know what
little
you're talking
gray
about. The
thing,
Talk
dude.
Boys.
I
They're like
would
this.
literally, yep, you just hold it.
With the
It
little
had
like
a little
with the little
like,
thing sticking out, little mic sticking
and
out.
yeah, it would just you would
Yeah,
just
yeah.
talk right into the mic and it would record onto a regular cassette versus like the small micro cassette or whatever it's called. But
One
yeah,
thing you
dude.
said, yeah, one thing you said actually, there was a video I saw recently, Zach, and it was of like a toddler or like a really young kid hearing Moonlight Sonata
Oh
and
really? Interesting.
and starting to cry, like looking like listening to the music and just watching it and being all into it, and just tears started coming. Like, as a baby, not even understanding music or anything, it was just like hitting this person because probably genetically we've kind of like gotten into the whole there's something that clicks with us with music that we can't really explain yet, but there's a video that's like super viral of this kid watching it and he's just sitting there like it's like watching his first live show concert and they're playing Moonlight Sonata and he just starts fucking crying like but not like crying like get me out of here, like crying at the music, like
Mm-hmm.
whoa, just
Yeah,
understanding as a child this is a huge deal.
I think it set me up for a lot of weird things
Mm.
because I was so musically adept at this really young age that I think that also taught my brain math really early, like not good math, just basic arithmetic and such.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I took it to so well that they thought I was some kind of like math savant, but I wasn't. I just learned way earlier than other kids. So I
Mm-hmm.
was way ahead of my grade level in like arithmetic immediately because it was music. I'm telling you, it was
Yeah.
because, you look at keys and you're counting in your head without even thinking about it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize that till I was older, but like it was pretty obvious in retrospect.
Totally, dude.
Definitely.
It unlocks some shit early. And that's fucking rad. And that's probably a lot of the reasons why people say get your kid into playing an instrument at as
Absolutely.
earliest age you possibly can, dude.
Yeah.
I tried, but piano is just like how everybody else reacts to piano. Most people are just like, fuck, man, I don't connect with this shit. Even though I'm learning all this stuff, it's like I just want to wail, but I can't wail because it's
Yeah.
88 keys? Is that what it is? A grand piano or standard
Well,
piano
full size
is
piano is
88.
88 keys.
Yeah, so you got all 88 keys in front of you, and just like I want to be a master at this, but no kid wants to do the 10,000. Well, I shouldn't say no kid, because there's obviously people that shred the piano
yeah.
because they've been playing their whole life. But the 10,000 hours that everybody talks about being good at something, it's a long haul for most kids. And I unfortunately
Zach,
bowed out at 9.
Zach, I don't know if you know this though, but Anthony actually is a drummer and a guitarist. We found this out like a couple months ago.
I did drum in a band, but we never did any shows, and it was shitty grindcore. But
And he can play "Wish You Were Here" on guitar.
yeah, I can do that, dude.
Claim to fame for sure.
Totally.
I can't get over my band that I'm in right now. All 4 of us have sang, played guitar, played bass, and played drums in bands.
Yeah.
Damn.
All of us, I was like, we have to take advantage and do
It's so funny.
switcheroo at least once someday, because
So the band that's playing the 16th or on Friday, what style of music is that? You're at the Elbow Room.
it's like Swedish melodic death metal, straight up. I mean,
Oh fuck yeah!
it is what
awesome.
it's basically, it's a new incarnation of what was like this city, but Ben's now singing and playing guitar.
Oh, Ben's in it. Nice, awesome.
It's Ben. Yeah, Ben started this band. It's more. That's what it is.
Shout out,
It's
Ben.
a lot like this city. Even more traditionally, European melodic death stuff.
So he's still running Creator to Destructor, right? He's still
Yeah,
doing that?
it's on Creator Destructor. It's
Okay.
that,
Sick.
and he asked me to play bass in it before we ever released the record, and the release of the record couldn't have gone too much better. It's been really good reception. We've played 2 shows; they both went great. Our last show was with Darkest Hour, and that was just such a fun show to play. And I'm hoping we continue this run of only great shows.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I
kind of
spent
the
so
dream.
many years playing in a metal band that my old band that I played, the tech metal band I played in Myotonia.
Myotonia, yeah.
That we played so many 300 cap rooms to 5 people.
Yeah.
I got just pretty used to that. And then, being in the last band I was in, Midnight Chaser, that was a party.
Yeah.
That was fun. And we'd play some great shows and some,
You play
more
drums in
math.
Myotonia. What do you play in this band that you're talking
Bass.
about?
I'm playing bass in this band.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
And I
See,
think-
I always remember you just being versatile, just sit down or with whatever instrument and just fucking shred it.
I'm sure I could still play guitar in a band. It would be a struggle. I literally, our last show, which was August 2008, I feel it was the last I really played drums. I stopped playing for years. And I've picked it up a couple of times after that to play a few shows or fill in a band, but I've never, I don't know how long it would take to get my actual chops back up on drums.
Well, Myotonia was the first project that I heard you involved in, and that album rips, dude. Well, yeah,
I
because
love it still.
you had handed me a burned copy of it during the Cryptic recordings at one point.
Oh, interesting. You might not have a final then.
Yeah, and I don't know why I was there late with you. I don't know if it was just a day that I was doing vocals and nobody
You
else
came
was
alone
there.
a couple times.
Yeah,
Finished
and
vocals,
when we were wrapping things up, we were just in conversation, and you were telling me about Myotonia, and I was like, dude, yeah, burn me a CD. And driving home from Berkeley that night, I was like, holy shit, dude, Zach fucking rips on drums, dude. It's tech metal. If you guys want to check it out, Myotonia, Myatonia. Oh shit.
Myotonia.
There we go. I almost got it.
It's a word. It's
It's a word, dude.
it's like
And
a
it's
metal.
a self-titled or album or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean the self-titled. There was a demo we put out, but that wasn't really the same band that we ended up being. What's amazing is the singer from that band ended up trying out to be the replacement singer in the band I was in after on guitar, the Midnight Chaser band, which is totally different genre of music. It's pop party hardcore metal, so it needs vocals singing. And I thought he was messing with me when he said he would try out to do it. I was like, sure, come try it. I didn't know you ever sang in your life. And then he ended up singing for us for years.
Sweet.
Awesome.
I mean,
That's
I guess
rad.
to this day they still are playing around.
So back to your timeline though, dude. So guitar You're just
And
engulfed in guitar after that, and what was
no, I'd
happening?
say I was engulfed in guitar for like a couple of years, and then I was simultaneously getting engulfed in bass and programming music.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was 12 or 13 is when I started just diving into the tracking stuff I did, which, you know, that's how much do you want me to dive into that? Because it's
That's fine,
quite
dude. As deep as you want to go.
well. So, I got into a scene of literally like early America Online slash bulletin board call up services of these things called mods, which are an old Amiga format of, you know, it's really hard to explain in modern terms, but like sequencing. Like it's not MIDI, it's like sample based DOS programs that you sequence audio in.
Like a
And I start,
Genesis game, like a Genesis or something like that.
I mean, no,
No.
it's like more like a PC computer. Amigas were just a brand of computers back then, but so that stuff you can see it's still all over the internet. It's still a scene. It's like a retro scene, and I'm not just talking like weird chip tune style sounding stuff. It was a whole way of creating music in the late '80s through the '90s, and that developed into quite a bit. That's a lot of why I was learning to play stuff. I learned to play drums way before I picked up drums. I was programming drums for years, and I started, really picking apart how drum beats worked and such, but I didn't play a bit. But I was playing bass and guitar, and I was making my own sample sets of guitar sounds and which is, literally, it's like you will make a palm mute and you'll decide how far you can pitch stretch that note, and then you had very limited memory.
Mm-hmm.
We're like talking like you had to keep your file sizes to about 256 kilobytes, but this is
Oh
all
wow.
real audio, so it's pretty adventurous. And I was way more interested in the technical aspect, just being honest. Like, I was into figuring out how to cheat this system, which is, plays into probably plays into my interest in fantasy sports, but I was trying to figure out like how can I make a guitar sound real, especially like a heavy metal guitar or like bass or slap bass or something like that. I started making all sorts of covers and I started just writing original songs and you just post them, you know, and there was a whole scene of people that would listen to everything, and I found the other prominent metal and hard rock trackers from around the world. There's one I just talked to the other day who was a guy I knew, back 25 years ago from Sweden who went by the name of Betrayer, and like he was doing stuff that I was like, whoa, how is he doing that? How did he make this sound real, And I was like digging deep and trying to reverse engineer some of that stuff and then improve on it if I could. And eventually, making my entire own sample sets using all sorts of weird ways to cheat the system to like use strange. Uh, I'm seeing there's a question here in chat
Yeah,
Yeah.
earlier.
yeah. I'm
Says,
just
what
throwing
about
it out there. I was
Optimus?
waiting for you to
No,
catch
I
it.
didn't
Wait.
use an Amiga. I'm just saying the format originated on Amiga. I started using just Mod Tracker was the original, and then got into Fast Tracker, Cubic Tracker, then did my last work on Impulse Tracker. The most important stuff I did was on something called Fast Tracker, but they're all the same thing, more or less. They just had different limitations. The original file format was only 4 channels, and when Fast Tracker came out, I think it was 6, and then the latest ones were like 8. But
Do you still have all that stuff archived on your computer or hard
absolutely
drives?
not. But they're
Uh,
no, I was about to say it's all on the internet, and I
oh,
hate
okay.
that it is. I hate that there's like garbage songs I wrote as like an 11-year-old that are still absolutely accessible if you just look them up.
Could you give
Shit.
like an example, like if someone like wants to understand what you're talking about? Because it
Yeah,
might.
no, I posted a video actually about 3 months ago, I want to say, maybe
Mhm.
sooner, of just like one of the songs I did right after the first Nintendo 64 game that was I found someone on YouTube had taken a video of it actually just playing back in the original DOS program. with good audio quality. So I would link them to that probably. That's a really good link.
is there a well-known artist or something that someone can look up like easily, like to understand what something that, because I mean, even for me, like I don't even understand
It's all
really what this
sampled
even sounds
sounds,
like.
right? But you're
Yeah,
trying to
it's
mimic.
sampled sounds.
So like he's sampling each
But
note on a guitar, but
256,
trying to make it natural sounding. So
but
if you
the
play,
such the
So you
low,
ask me
like
how I did it?
how you did it, or like if there's an
There's a
idea
few
or
there's a few
people
crazy
that
ideas. So you can't compress the audio, but what you can do is you can the manipulations I was doing was literally using absurd sample rates and bit rates. Like I would have like a snare drum that would be like most audio these days is either 20, 16 or 24 bit, 44 or 48 kilohertz,
uh
maybe 96. I was doing weird things where I was using like snare drums that were like 7 kilohertz and 4 bit. And
Jesus.
I was EQing them in a way to make sure that it would sound right. And I was just working at it. So I guess that leads to the next part of this whole progression, which is when I was 15, I get discovered because I started doing a series of like Primus covers.
Okay.
And Midway, the video game company, was looking for someone who would put together music in this exact format. This is what they were using for Nintendo
Like
64.
Mortal Kombat and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, Midway. Yeah.
the same exact. Yeah, Mortal Kombat's a great example because I'm sure all the music was done in the same trackers I used. I'm
Okay.
positive, in fact, because
Oh
that's what
wow.
I'm talking about. I'm talking about like if you heard about Nintendo 64 level music, like
Uh-huh.
the style they were doing in that was this kind of tracking.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was this kind of sequencing. It's real sounds, but it's pretty limited memory and you know, it's DOS based more importantly. So like if you see this, it's just a bunch of numbers and letters on a graphical, but not
Wow.
graphical the way you're thinking of interface. I still find it very comforting when I saw this video from a little while back. It's like, wow, yeah, this is still really familiar and easy to follow. And I'm sure people would look at it and think it looks like the Matrix because it literally like scrolls down while it's playing back. And you're like,
mm,
what the fuck is going on? Especially with the way I was doing things. It's like you would see notes, like it'd be like C sharp, but you know, I was just using my own crazy twin language stuff to, just put in things however I wanted. So it wasn't
That's just crazy with like
simplistic.
such a limited kind of computer power. Like you could still
Right.
like do that kind of stuff because I mean nowadays if you're probably doing those same kind of sounds or whatever, like 1 second of it is 256K. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, not even.
the,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's like the fact that you're making music with those samples at that such a low that's not memory, but just you're not
No,
taking up any
memory.
space.
Memory is the term. It's
Okay.
memory. They call it
Okay, okay.
memory because, I mean, in the case of an N64 game, I mean, once it came to Fast Tracker, the size was theoretically unlimited. Not everybody's computer can handle like a 1 megabyte SOG at the time because it would maybe be an overload of memory. Because I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember how little memory, like
Oh yeah.
RAM computers used to have, like
No,
in the
definitely.
early 90s or
Yep.
late 80s. But like, I mean, it wasn't a lot. And there was also DOS had this thing where it had basic memory and extended RAM, and you
Yeah.
can't always access the extended RAM. But getting off topic here, I'm saying so that guy sought me out, has no idea how old I am, anything I'm doing, but he saw that I had a cover of a Primus song and pitted me against 10 other, you know, pretty well accomplished sequencers. But I assure you that what we were assigned was make songs that sound like Primus. Everybody was fucked from the get-go because what they I'm a kid that's been obsessed with learning every Primus song on guitar and bass for a long time. Everything I'm writing sounds like Primus anyway at this point, right at this exact point. And more importantly, they were all trying to use basic like bass libraries and weird canned guitar sounds that sound like a Yamaha keyboard from the 90s.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And I was sitting there like making a song by minimizing how many samples I could make and manipulate, put my own drum kit together from scratch, just literally take a kick drum, miking it with a program called Goldwave for, Windows 3.1, just to date this even more, and then run some EQ, start doing those, start saving things in weird formats, just PCM audio. Sorry, I guess yeah, PCM audio, like, you know, I guess like WAV or AIF is similar, but this doesn't even have like a file header or anything. And then, which is the only reason you have to do that is because you're making it weird formats, and then load those all in, make your instruments, and make songs out of it. And I remember put the first song together, and they gave me the job pretty much instantly, and then got me working on. They're like, okay, it's a snowboarding game. We want everything to sound as similar to the band Primus as we can find because
Tony
we
Hawk
did
Pro Skater.
yeah, basically we did a study, and we found out people that like snowboarding games like Primus, which is a little weird, but it was definitely
Yeah.
what they had decided. And I'm still super happy with how that all went. They never went, I signed a contract which is absolutely illegal. And
With Midway?
yeah, well, with Boss Games, the studio that was actually doing it, the
Okay.
subsidiary, and
Because
then
you were 15, you're saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
I was definitely
Oh, God.
15. Yeah, it's definitely not cool that, I signed like I became a member. It was a requirement I become a member of BMI for some reason, which is weird because I didn't get points on it or anything. But, and do that. The agreement was that I would maintain the rights to the music as long as it's, I wasn't supposed to distribute the, internal files. But even that, then they told me it was fine to do later on.
But they made you sign in crayon, so it didn't really count.
I mean, nothing counted. I was a minor. The money,
Yeah.
they paid me real
Oh, they paid you?
U.S.
Nice.
dollars. Oh no, yeah, it was my first real job, so that got me microphones, mixer,
Oh, fuck
car, and
Awesome.
like that really started this whole path into
How sick is
recording.
that, dude? Most 15-year-olds start working at like In-N-Out and shit, dude. And this
In and out.
guy's
That's a high job for a 15-year-old.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Maybe
that's
not.
the best fast food place you could possibly.
Yeah, I
Well,
know.
All right.
David and I in the chat, Warbreaker in the chat, shout out. We worked at Submarina, and
Ooh, what?
Yes,
you know,
that sounds more
that
realistic.
was, we had some sweaty hot summers, dude, making
In-N-Out.
sandwiches.
I
just like
did
it
do
is.
stuff like that because this dried up real fast. We did one
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
game, and at this point it's 1998, 1999, and absolutely PlayStation and CD audio and just normal music is starting. And I knew this was coming, like this job was not gonna last or anything. But I mean,
Yeah.
I did the next game, which was a driving game they wanted me to make sound like ZZ Top, which didn't go as well musically, I felt, but they were happy. And then, as far as I know, the whole studio folded, like the developer studio. Midway, I think, may have been bought by Activision at this point, but
Okay.
so that relationship just ended, as did the entire format. And I mean, most people, it's abandonware. It's part of the retro internet that people get really excited about sometimes, chip tunes and all that, but it's not.
That's right here. That's what
serious.
David was saying, that people are still today. There's still people using.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Paradox.
is. You're reading here in the chat. Like, I mean, people are still fascinated by it, but no one's. I shouldn't say that. I don't know enough about it. Maybe people are still producing music in it. I mean, I know Moby did stuff in it, and Trent Reznor did stuff in it.
Yeah,
but,
retro is
like,
always a thing. Like retro, going back to something's always a thing. Like it's always going
Right.
to come back.
Yeah,
in some
there's
way.
nostalgia and like the whole cassette scene coming back too. But I think that like we all also appreciate like the history and things, and so going back in time and doing it the way it used to be is kind of a cool thing for even the newer generations to try. Like it's so easy on the computer now. Why not
Oh,
go
yeah.
back to how like the seedlings of all this digital age, or not digital music age. And yeah, dude, I think it's cool because it's more of a challenge. Like you were talking about how it helped you, or actually not this, but like just the way you develop your mind while you're doing these things, and like making things harder for yourself makes you
Never even
more.
heard of this. I never even heard of this before he even mentioned it. So it's like something I'm learning just off the bat.
Well,
You
I
know,
mean,
had
it's
no idea
even
this was, like,
before
a scene.
that. It was like
Yeah.
sampling records on
Yeah.
the basic 4-track recorders that he was talking about, and making your own beats and whatever with the samples and manipulating the samples too to bend things into your favor and kind of mold something that's already there. I totally get it. It's just like the beginning of the internet and the computer age for, everybody having a computer in their home. You let your teenager onto the computer. God forbid they'd be looking at some other bullshit that's not going to make their brain fucking develop. Probably porn or something like that.
It helps there wasn't porn. I mean, there basically wasn't porn when I was a kid on the internet.
It took too long, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like there was like you could maybe like search for like 4 hours and then download a single picture that would
Single
take
picture.
like.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like call up. You look in the magazine and there's like back of the magazine. It's like there's a bunch of bulletin board services, and I'm sure the true like actual nerds in here have any idea what I'm talking about. But that's a
Well, I
real
know
thing.
my dad actually used to be like in the 80s. He's a programmer in the 80s. My grandfather actually was a programmer on the original Cray computers, like the ones that use punch cards and stuff. But like my dad like literally said that there was a computer coming out that literally had, not to get too nerdy on this, but that basically they were like, oh, they're releasing this computer. It's got a 512K hard drive. And my dad at the time was like, why the fuck would you need that much space? By the way, that's a half a megabyte. And my dad was like, that's
now our computers
insane.
have 512 gigs.
Oh no,
I mean, our
terabytes. They have multiple terabytes.
I meant our phones.
Yeah. It's like literally 512K, a half of a fucking megabyte. Where my dad's like, no one's ever going to need that much space. I don't know why they're doing this. And like fast forward to our phones can go take a fucking thing to the space.
Well,
the space.
It's really like the advancements in what what Zach was experimenting with is just us trying to figure out an easier and easier way to do things. So what do? We develop more technology and it exponentially grows but we're still never going to be satisfied, dude.
The software I'm using right now came out and was around right about this same time too. Meaning like Cubase is one of the oldest programs. Cubase, Pro Tools, and Digital Performer were like probably the big known ones in the mid 90s that, a fancy studio that had digital stuff would have. And Cubase was the leader in like MIDI sequencing, Pro Tools more in the recording albums way. Now everything does everything, but this was a very niche thing. I didn't know it was niche. It was just the only thing I could do. And I didn't even have the nice equipment. I bought everybody who was into gaming or anything had a sound blaster. Do you guys ever remember the term sound blaster? You're the right age that you would know what that is.
I do remember that. Was it
I do too.
Audio card? Was it?
Yeah, the audio card sound blaster was the good one. I couldn't afford the sound blaster. I bought the knockoff, the Pro Audio 16, I think it was called, and suffered through using that, which was incompatible with most games and such. But luckily, this stuff have worked fine with it. But no, I really, really dove down this rabbit hole.
So did you pay attention to playing instruments outside of that too, or did you just mainly?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah, you'd have to be sampling all this stuff too, so because you said you were making your own samples.
That's right, and I mean, I started taking lessons from guitar lessons when I was just about right after I turned 15, and I was taking those from Alex Skolnick, the guitarist from Testament, who's now back in Testament, but he was at the time out of the band, and otherwise I would have never had that opportunity. And I ended up taking lessons from him until he left and moved to New York when I was 18, maybe. Yeah, I want to say I did it well past when I left high school. I kept doing that, and that was very important because that taught me. I was screwing around before then. I was never serious about learning, and never serious. And I was a fan of Testament when I saw, he put just an ad in the paper. I wanted to do it immediately.
Yeah. The Gathering was
such a well-versed
guitar
player.
So I said 98, 90.
No. This is 95. 45 probably.
Oh, okay, earlier than that. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm
Jeez.
41. So so it was it was before they released the record Demonic. I know that because I brought him that CD and watched him listen to it for the first time he had ever heard it. Because he was
Wow.
curious. When I told him, I was like, hey, I got the New Testament CD. He's like, oh, really? How is it? Because they were in a bad place at the time, I think.
Are you
Mhm.
I
still
don't
in
really
touch
know
with him
much about.
after all these years? Are you still
No,
in
I
touch?
saw him once when I hanging out with Rob at the Testament show and came up and chatted with him for a while, but no, we haven't spoke too much
Okay, gotcha.
over the years.
So,
Not since we left. I went to they played like a big blowout last show at, there's a studio called Jackson Street Studios that was in Oakland that
okay.
apparently every band you've ever heard of was rehearsing at. I didn't really realize that at the time, but like anything that came out of the Bay Area in the 90s was at this place, which I believe had a serious fire at some point, but
Oh shit.
I wasn't there then. But I originally took lessons at this little guitar shop in Berkeley, but then he moved to his rehearsal studio at Jackson Street, and there was a huge blowout show at the end that, all sorts of Bay Area thrash legends were at, I'm sure, and it was like the going away party sort of thing. But yeah,
Definitely.
from then to
I
then,
never
that was
really asked
important.
where you were growing up. What city
Oakland.
were you? Oh, just
I
Oakland.
Yeah, I've never really. I mean, I'm in a different city now, but you guys are local and realize that it's basically the same place. I've been in Oakland, California my whole life,
Hmm.
Hmm.
basically. I moved here to Alameda, I guess 12 years ago at this point, but it's across a bridge.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Yeah,
2 minutes from Oakland, so.
definitely.
So what? To take it back to the recording real quick. What you said, Castle Ultimate 5. So what number was the Emeryville studio?
Emeryville was 3.
Okay, I was
So, I
gonna
mean, the
guess
original
3.
studio I was just at today, literally. Like, the 2002, we opened the first studio after. And I mean, I might as well just finish this progression for you. I'll do a quick version here.
Oh, it's all good.
I, I, you know, kept recording, started recording more and more bands in high school. I was in a lot of bands. I mean, I was playing a lot. I was recording the stuff I was doing. I, you know, you, I know you mentioned on this podcast before it got brought up that I recorded. I think the last album I did like just at my parents' house was Shut It Down by Animosity. But I had
Hmm.
done a bunch of other records at that house after I had moved out, moved back in when I was 19, and stayed there, just kind of developing more and more stuff with the studio stuff until me and my best friend Aaron decided we were gonna go in and try to actually build a legitimate recording studio at this rehearsal at the biggest rehearsal place in Oakland that's still there. It's called Oakland Music Complex now. It was called Soundwave Studios at the time, which
Hmm.
Soundwave Studios still exists, but it's like an hourly rental place. All of this is still there. I was rehearsing for the city tour I did 3 years ago in the same room that used to be my control room
Trip.
up
What
on
a
the third
trip.
floor. But yeah, we rented out rooms 311, 313, and we're in pretty much ground floor when they had just started renting out that place to
So how? Tell us the
rehearse for us.
Animosity story. How did you hook up with those guys? How'd you
I
cross
think he had
paths?
heard. I actually heard him tell this story. So he had heard my band, Ultimus, which was like a semi-joke butt rock band I was doing, where we would write. I don't know how to describe it because it wasn't necessarily intentionally comical, but eventually it was. Like,
Yeah.
it was over the top, silly White Snake, Iron Maiden sounding metal stuff. But I still love when I hear those songs back. I'm like, God, some of this shit we wrote was fucking hilariously
Yeah,
good.
you
It
guys were
was really good.
serious about it, but at the same time, it had a fun, comical
It developed from
vibe.
what was supposed to be a ska band. This guy who was a super fan of me in what ended up being the bass player's band, but the bass player is actually the saxophone player in the popular ska band I was playing in. Like, that
Hmm.
was like his connection to us. He's like, I really want to start a band with you guys. And day one, just day one of what was supposed to be practice for our hard rock ska band, immediately abandoned ska entirely. And our saxophone player is like, I'm playing bass in the band from now on. Period. and you're playing drums, Zach, and he's playing guitar, and that's it. And then, that turned into us getting the drummer who ended up being in Clearing On Skies and Apiary and all that stuff. And actually being like a kind of real band. We played real shows, which in retrospect's amazing. But Naveen had heard that, or no, I shouldn't say no. I think Leo, the singer, or his brother had heard it. They had just recorded a pretty, I don't want to throw somebody way too far under the bus, but a pretty horrible sounding demo that was like some old guy's analog straight to tape studio, which just didn't suit at all what they were doing. They weren't, I don't, they might have been the first like straight up blast beat death metal band I recorded, but they weren't the first metal band I recorded. I had already done the Abhorrence record, which is the Santa Cruz band that, as far as I know, never technically broke up. Maybe
Brandon,
they did, sorry.
Brandon was just commented, yeah.
I had done. Oh, is he in the chat right now?
He just on my Facebook thing. I just posted that we're live, and he's like, "Fuck yeah!" and he's in here somewhere.
Yeah, Brandon Fitzgerald, right?
Yep.
And I'd done that. I'd done I had completely. What I had done by 2001 is like completely take over the ska and pop punk hardcore scene of that part of the Bay Area. Everybody wanted to come do albums with me. The first thing I did on a label actually was a band called. It was one of two bands. I can't remember which, but one of them was this band, The Program, came and did an album, and it was on Jamie Josta's label. I forgot what it's called. Stillborn Records, I think. And then I did some other ska band that was on Orange Peel, and then I was like, okay, this is serious. I'm finally making enough money that this is viable, that we could pay rent. And Aaron had just, he went to recording school. I never went to school, but he went to recording school and had just been graduating, and I think we first rented in August 2002. So it's a little more than 20 years ago. We had the first place where we stayed till 2005, did all sorts of stuff, And back then we were just booked every day of the month because it's him and me, and both of us didn't have like a secondary place we can work on anything. So, we're going to be there if anything I'm doing production with the band was in there. And then we had a problem the whole time that we were there, that it was so noisy there. I don't know if you guys have been to a busy rehearsal studio. You had to look the most popular one in the East Bay Area by far. But when there's like 80 bands, a lot of them serious ones, like High on Fire could play on the other side of the building, and it would make it possibly bleed into a recording we're doing of some acoustic guitar or something.
Right.
So it felt very unprofessional from the get-go. And we had built a floated floor and an isolation booth. It was just kind of all in vain. It's just like, you can't stop. We had a guy named B Legit next to us who worked with E40 a lot.
Oh, hell yeah.
Was doing but like his bass was just like intoxicating you while you're sitting there trying to work on something unrelated. So we loved the environment. It was a really good time, but we always had our eyes out for like a new place, and we were really actively looking at a few things when we found a place in Oakland. There was a totally autonomous studio, and ended up being the worst decision we ever made.
So this is Cast Ultimate 2 right here?
Yeah, we signed a 5-year lease, and we made it like 5 or 6 months there until we were like, we have to do anything to abandon ship and get out of this lease. It was hard. It was one of the hardest times to deal with because there was issue after issue. Cops were getting called on us constantly because of noise complaints, because there were apartment buildings above it. Mind you, this had been a studio for, 10 years before we took it over. The problem we didn't anticipate is that studio was not successful at all. And they weren't having bands. And at that point, we were bringing in people 24 hours a day.
Right.
Like, I mean, and we were both just wanting to go, and we
hungry,
couldn't.
yeah.
And it was problematic. And then we eventually found that Emeryville spot, which always, like, from day one, I was like, this place looks like shit. But boy, this works, Like, there's no one's going to bother us here. It's a good location. It's actually pretty big and set up real well. We had an ISO booth. We had the live room. We had kind of a second ISO booth if we wanted to.
Yeah.
No bathroom at first. We built our own, which was a huge disaster on its own. But other than being dirty as hell, that place actually worked pretty well for us.
It was our first, my first real recording
Copper
experience.
crabs in the house.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
what up, guys?
What up, guys?
What's up?
And-
Girls.
Shout out Naveen and Cheney. Love you guys.
Love you
Oh,
guys.
it's funny because
Oh yeah.
that just came up in what you were just asking about. But yeah. So moving forward, then, like, that's the place you guys were at. But all three of you, I think, I first recorded at that Castle Ultimate.
Number 3, yeah.
Number
okay.
4 was actually, I mean, definitely my favorite or second favorite of the places. Because, I mean, the place we were at now is really cool. This place was an unbelievable deal for us. And it was too good to be true because the same thing that happened at the second studio kind of happened here. It just took a lot longer. But, we go there, and it was in Fremont. So that was a huge pain in the ass. That was the only thing that was pain in the ass. It was an awesome studio. I think, yeah, Casey was definitely there. I don't
That's the
know.
one that we did. I did the guest solo thing.
Yeah, you did guest guitar solo at.
That's
I loved
right.
that place.
That was a cool spot.
I think Anthony made it out there.
Yeah.
I thought,
Okay.
for this one right here, Continuum.
Yeah,
that was
Continuum.
was it in Fremont? No, I thought that was
No,
in Oakland.
no, that was
one near
at my
Mexico.
current studio. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
then I never made it to that one, the Fremont one.
The Fremont one was basically the entirety of 2010. Yeah. Like we moved there early 2010, and then we left it
I did
sometime around 2011.
Odious Cryptic was 2006. We were doing that with you
Son of
and
Release
then-
recorded there though for sure.
at 3.
Yeah, no, at 4.
Oh, at Fremont.
At
Okay.
the Fremont spot. They did something at all 3 studios actually, but
Yeah.
that studio, the Fremont studio, I remember, I did an All Shot Parish record there. I did a lot of really work I'm really proud of that came out of that studio, and not only that, but it was just a good time. It was a clean, nice, well set spot. There was a pretty big ceiling live room. There was it was just everything I wanted to have in a studio. And it was just a guy who was letting it to us because he signed his 20-year lease in 1995 and was still making a good bit of money just renting it to us.
Wow.
Which we found out about that place from Sam Pura, who was leaving it right before he built his own place, which he's at to this day. And he's like, the spot isn't that bad. You should really check it out. And he was sharing it with some other guy, and we loved it, but once again, same problem happened. There was a microchip manufacturer next door that kept complaining about us to the point where the owners were like, well, let's just get this stupid place out of here and tear down this $200,000 build out that some poor guy had done that was paying, really minimal rent on for years and years. And they're like, well, if we just turn this place around, we can make, which sounds hilarious now, 2011 money instead of 1995 money.
Yeah.
Which I'd say they timed pretty poorly if whoever's there has been there ever since, but
Right.
And so that that was a blow to us, but I had already done several records at Sharkbite where you guys just recorded a few weeks ago. I had done Cali Decapitation there, I had done Arsonist Guild, the girls there, Carnifex, we spent a month in the studio there. And so it was familiar to me already. I had already done Intercrepit Birth recorded there. I forgot that you did your drum tracking for Polarity there. So it's I had done a few things there. I already had a relationship with Ryan. Right. So when Ryan found out about the owner, he found out about our situation. He's like, I've got these rooms that have been our second mix studio that we're not booking all that much. Maybe you take it over and reconfigure, and then after lots of talking we figured out to actually take that and the room next door to make the room next door our control room and make what was a giant mix studio into our live room. And we built walls and ceiling all with him. I shouldn't say we, because I got to give Ryan a lot of credit. He's like, let's do this, let's take this on, and you guys have seen it, it's put together pretty well. And we did not pay him a ton at all to do all that construction.
When you go to 3 and then you come back and it's 5, then you're like, oh yeah, dude, Zach's doing good, dude. Because we were talking about the 3 being how dirty. I remember the bathroom. I remember during our recording thing, we were I showed up one day and you were like, "Yeah, dude, there was a bum in the bathroom last night, and he wouldn't leave, and we had to call the police or some shit like that." Do you remember something like
Yeah.
that happening? Yeah.
Oh, I
So,
mean,
like,
so you're referring. So that was earlier on. That's part of why we built our own inside our room because there was a
yeah.
communal one that was like shared by a bunch of meth heads. Like
Oh shit.
it
They
was
weren't actually
really
in the room.
concerning.
No, I'm talking about there was a
Yeah,
separate. You
the
had to
bathroom that
leave.
was
Yeah, the
like
bathroom
across
was
the
communal
hall.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we made a non-communal one because of ongoing issues with that bathroom. There was like, I remember forever there was graffiti on the wall in that bathroom that said, "Now I know what it's like to take a shit in San Quentin," and everybody got a kick out of that. This is what it
Jesus.
felt like. It looked really rough.
It was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
rough, dude.
Apparently, bands I know like recorded. It used to be called something else. It's now a keyboard museum and is thriving, from what I hear.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah, like the guy who took it over, he asked me about it. I was like, it is what it is. The owners were always pretty kind to us and like, but they were really unattentive. Like we'd be like, "Hey, the roof is like seriously leaking." Like they're like, "Oh, that's weird." You know, like
Yeah.
they were not helpful, but they like left us alone pretty good.
That's what
And
I was gonna say. So it's like it sounds like the trajectory is like you either get one side or the other, you know?
yeah. Hmm.
Either the quiet space to do your own thing, but you're dealing with a decaying building around you, or you get a good place, but everybody's making noise around you, or you're getting noise complaints.
Right.
So finally at 5, Castle Ultimate 5, you're at a
Zero
place
problems.
where you have zero problems now.
The
And
only
that's
problem we had initially is it would get really hot, and then we installed AC, and then since that moment, I would say that place was great.
yeah.
Is great. It's still there. Now it's just Machine Head Studio. And
Okay.
I've just been working permanently at Sharkbite since 2013. I mean, I should say permanently. I'm still just paying him daily out of the place, but it works fine for me doing things that way. A lot
Totally.
more on demand, and I'd already started opening up the fact that I started working at home a lot. I brought home, the desk you recorded Decrepit Birth, Cryptic, everything, Continuum, is sitting right next to me in a bedroom over there right now.
Sick,
Wow.
dude.
So
Nice.
it's that it's the same speakers too. I mean, it's not like problematic for me to be working at home. And once it wasn't, it started being like, okay, well, I can have a better balance of because I would get really burnt out just being indoors, no windows in the studio for, 20, 30 days a month. It just doesn't work. Especially the older you get. I mean, it worked when you're just like hustling and young, but like that's not something I want to do now.
So at
Not
your
something
age
I'm
though,
good at doing.
one question I have with your age and how many and I have I'm gonna do a little segment here and go through like
One
I've always,
question I have with your age.
well, I mean, your age and your experience is like with ear fatigue, as far as like
It's a
being.
huge problem.
I know for you, I mean, what do you do? Is there a certain point that you hit, like when you're in the studio now, that you just know, okay, well, this is going on now, and I need to step away for a certain amount of time, or is there a
I'm
way that
beyond
you,
that. I'm
yeah,
literally I just don't trust what I'm doing in the studio too much. And I
okay,
try to like know when like I know certain things that I really want to have fresh ears for,
hmm,
tracking wise. And we're
yeah,
just talking about tracking here, so I'd say less than 50% of the work I'm doing right now is, me tracking an album and, you know, doing it start to finish is not as much of a thing that I've done as much lately because I'm getting so much mix work. But the it's that objectiveness that I used to. You guys remember this? I would go straight start to finish, often in a day.
hmm,
Like I really feel like that doesn't work for me very well anymore. It might if I felt more comfortable with the monitoring in Sharkbite, but I haven't really ever felt that I could trust it. you know,
yeah,
Things have a tendency to sound really good in there. In it's just not. I never really got into a good system, I think, until about 5, 6 years ago when I started really having like kind of a three-pronged system of making sure I'm listening in short bursts of things, and that I'm listening on a lot of different things that I know well. Like I know the studio monitors well, I know my home studio monitors real well, and I know
Yeah.
my headphones, like my in-ears, what I go running with. And those are actually just as important to what I'm doing. And anytime like I make a switch in them, it's throws me off for a little bit. But I'm starting to learn how to adapt to new speakers a little
So do
better.
you go
And
running
try to listen.
and work with mixes
I really
while you're
do.
running?
I really do to more extent than especially with balance stuff and like making sure. Because I mean, I intentionally don't go out and buy super high end headphones. I'm just using like the current higher end Galaxy Buds.
The everyday man kind of like headphones that you're gonna
Yeah,
hear.
or
Yeah,
and
yeah,
even if use like AirPods isn't a
yeah.
bad idea to check stuff. Though those never fit me for some reason, those kind of style. But like, the actual plug in your ear ones seem to work pretty well for me.
So that goes
Using
along with like,
headphones isn't reliable enough because they move around on your head too much, I feel like. Even the
yeah, yeah.
fancy new ones that they're like, oh, they're as good as being in a studio. And I've like tried them, like, yeah, but still if I move it like a tiny bit one way or the other,
Everything
it all
changes.
shifts.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind
They
of like,
sound great. They're
yeah,
great
yeah.
for listening and having a good time, but I can't. I've never been one that thinks that you can
I
mix
mean, going
too
into your
reliably
car
on them.
too, like I mean, from
Yeah,
like going
car's
from
the
those
other part.
studios, go those we talked about those barefoot whatever
Hmm.
$15,000 monitors, like you're going from those to like an actual what the everyday person's going to listen out of, like yeah. So like kind of to David's question, he's asking about like, you can't like rely probably on the monitors too much until like you bring it out of the studio and then you go in to like a real environment, correct?
Yeah, and what I like to do is just make sure it sounds good on all four. And yes, actually, car was the last part I was trying to mention, and I forgot. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
car. And also, once again, I don't not trying, not some high-end, fancy, souped-up car stereo. Just like plugging it in my,
Mm-hmm.
Toyota Camry. Like I want to
Yep.
hear what's gonna get revealed,
Mm-hmm.
both in like really nice listening environments and in really limited. Not to mention just mono on a cell phone. Like that is
Interesting.
sadly, or it's actually not mono. These things are stereo. I don't know if you've ever like put it behind your head and realized they're
Yeah, yeah.
completely stereo these days, but it's essentially mono because it's sitting in front of someone. Don't forget that like the audience you're working with these days with your mixes is like probably over 50% of them are hearing it on a cell phone while they're doom scrolling. Let's be real.
Yeah, yeah. That's
And that
true.
might be their first introduction to things. And sometimes I don't really see stuff in that way, and then I see what works and doesn't work. I'm like, well, actually, no, these mixes that sound great on the cell phone are really what pop out to people the quickest these days. 'Cause
Yeah.
everybody's doing everything on a cell phone. I'm doing everything on a cell phone. Everybody is, especially
So
people 40 or
doom
under.
scrolling, by the way, you said doom scrolling. Is that like the end, like when you're in the
You just
morning and you're
never
just
stop,
scrolling?
dude.
I didn't
Yeah.
know there's a term for
In
it.
the
It's like,
morning. I know
or
people
just
that
like,
do this 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
well, I
dude.
mean, like
I've been known to
A
do it.
whole
Just
like
going
it's
on
one of the,
Instagram or going on anything,
yeah.
and you're just scrolling
Well, it's like I
and
need to go to
looking
bed
at
at
your
this certain
stories or
time, and
whatever.
you need to go to bed by 11, and you just are scrolling, and then before you know it's like 1 or something. You know what I mean? Like that's doom scrolling, correct?
I don't want to define it, but I think so. But I mean,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
where
I've
you're
never
or
heard
you'll
that.
have.
you're literally scrolling and you can even be sitting outside of yourself like look at what you're doing, dude, and you just keep going looking for the one little
Yeah,
like jolt of
dopamine.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know.
Exactly. That actually
And
makes. I'm gonna start calling it that now. 'Cause it is.
doom
It should
scrolling,
I'm
be
sure
dude.
one of you guys can
defined.
look it up in the dictionary. Like it's literally
You
probably
find it in
the
like the Urban
Merriam-Webster at
Dictionary
this
right
point.
there. Yep.
No, I bet it's in the non-urban.
It's probably in the
dictionary.
Webster now,
The
dude.
Yeah, I'm
Webster.
serious. That's a well-known
Really?
term, I
I've never
think.
even heard that.
I'm looking it up. We can't talk about this and be wrong.
No, I've definitely heard the term too, and I always look
I've
at it
never
like
heard it.
It's
I
got a
always whenever I
Wikipedia.
hear
I
it,
don't
I'm
know
like,
if it
ooh,
counts.
dude, I do that sometimes. Every time.
Doom
And when you hear
scrolling
it,
or
it's like,
doom surfing is the act of spending an excessive amount of screen time devoted to the absorption of negative news. Okay, so apparently it's,
Okay, okay.
okay, I'm
Oh,
misusing the term then, sorry.
Yeah,
well,
I'm
yeah.
coming close, but like,
we call it zombie scrolling, dude, where you just like it's really
Scrolling.
dig.
poon scrolling, bro. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, no,
but-
I think it's doomed no matter what, even if it's positive or negative. If you get stuck into
Well, I
it,
was
into
gonna
the
say-
cycle long enough.
with the listening, you're right, dude. It's like
Yeah, you're right. I do
that's
it.
what- you got to listen to something. You're going to listen to it on your phone first because that's the quickest it gets to you, dude. That's just how society is now. So as a producer, engineer, mixing, mastering, that's your profession. Like you have to adjust to the current
Oh
state of
yeah,
affairs, dude.
absolutely. I mean, I see people fail to do that constantly, and you know, everybody gets stuck in takes, and I think it's helped me not completely disappear. You don't see many engineers and producers that like actually stick around for various reasons. Sometimes people burn out, sometimes people do what we're talking about right now and they just like completely they'll get negative energy around new trends and instead of adapting to it, they'll just get stubborn about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or be like a guy in the early 2000s being like, "No, only analog sounds good." It's like, "Okay, but you really think that's where this is going?" You know?
Yeah.
And now you can't even buy tape. We had tape machines in Sharkbite and less people use them to the point where he just put them in the attic. We have, a nice Atari and I forgot what the other one is, but he has them and they were so unused and it's so difficult to get like fresh tape for them and it's like nobody actually cares
Yeah.
at this point.
No, that's
And
actually one of my I mean, talking about your recording and stuff, like getting a recording with Zach. One thing that Zach is really good at is just like all the filters or whatever that you think you have, like he's gonna tell you like straight up, like, that's not like making sense in this format. Like he'll just give you like the honest answer. He's not gonna be like, let me rub your shoulders and tell you that's gonna be okay on analog. He's gonna be like, no, it's not gonna sound great for what you guys are doing. I don't think that's a good idea. And it's just a straight shooter. He's like not gonna like bullshit you and blow sweet nothings in your ear. He's gonna be like, this is not a great idea for what the sound you guys are going for. And that's one of the best qualities. Obviously, you're an amazing engineer on top of that, but you're getting people to be like, all right, dude, I know you had this cute idea in the beginning, but like for what you're going for, that's probably not going to be the path you should take. And
I mean,
that's
I appreciate
yeah,
that, but and part of that, I'd say often then one of the best ways to end up working is that I'm not working on the very first time with the band. I think the second, third records, and sometimes like just doing like a demo or something like, but once bands get in a groove, it's always a little easier unless
mm,
they just some groups just meld with me immediately, but like sometimes it's just like you gotta once people recognize something like what you just said, it's a lot easier to just keep working forward. Also,
mm,
you're talking about, you last recorded with me a few weeks ago, but that was very chill and in many ways your parts were done beforehand. But I'm talking like back when we did Cryptic,
yeah,
that record's in the middle of one of the craziest runs of work I'm doing. Like you guys were talking about, Castle Ultimate 3 is a shithole. But I look at the work that came out of there, it's wild. It's
mm,
wild what was recorded in that garbage studio from
Mm-hmm.
2007 to 2009. It's
yeah.
a, it's like there's records that I don't even I sometimes forget happened that are, culturally significant or the band has just jumped off and become something enormous and completely
Yeah.
different.
So
Mm-hmm.
so we did
It's
cryptic
that
and
that period. Yeah,
we
sorry, go ahead.
we did diminishing there too, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And then did you guys do servile insurrection or
Mm-hmm.
severed savior there
Yeah.
too?
Yep. Serval was there
Oh,
too. Yep.
that's right, dude. Okay. And then we did polarity at Sharkbite.
I
That's
think
what it
it's
was.
it's pretty much
Okay.
animosity that started all this because I remember animosity was the one going. They were like pushing Odious to be like, you have to go with Zach, you
Yeah.
have to go
Yeah.
with Zach, and then like once like Odious went to, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Once Odious went to Zach, you, um,
Yeah.
all this death metal kind of flooded there. Is that correct or is that not correct?
I'd say that's not correct just because I think that the band that was really actually getting me tons of death metal work was All Shall Perish, who we start working
Okay,
together in 2002.
okay,
And that led to tons of death metal before then. But I do feel like, yeah, I do really feel like that and Severed Savior and those three bands were like the first three true tech death bands that came through. It was kind of a different genre, really.
hmm,
I mean, also, by the way, no, Polarity was recorded at Sharkbite, and we did, when we reamped guitars or whatever, we did that at Castle Ultimate 4. You just weren't there.
okay.
Mm.
But we definitely finished. Bill even came in a few times back there. Then, I mean, both those, you know this, those Decrepit Birth records were disjointed and strange. And Matt recorded the guitars at home, and I don't mean he recorded DIs. And we like Diminished was done at Matt's discretion. Like so it was a lot of that record's a lot less straightforward than like you said, Cryptic.
Cryptic was in and out in a week or something like
Yeah.
that.
Like most of the things I was doing. That was just a basic start to finish, let's get it done thing. And
But
then
that was our
I want to
first.
say you came and did vocals way later.
Yeah, well, with Cryptic, it was I think the last 3 days or something like that was me, and then well, with Severed, yeah, it was split up. I did 4 songs, and then took a break because there was a death in the family, my grandma, and I just fucking
That's what it
couldn't
was. I
pull
remember
through.
that.
And then I came back and finished Servile with you. But yeah, it's those are some of the coolest times in my life, dude. Like as anybody in a band, the recording process is always like we're gonna solidify this in time now.
Yeah.
Everything that we've been doing in the rehearsal studio up to this point, we're finally gonna just freeze it in amber, and this is what it's gonna be. And so I'll always look back at all those sessions where ego is something that should not be in the recording studio, because working with somebody like you the way that you communicate with me, at least personally, this is just I don't as a vocalist, like there's times where I think you helped me realize that a take wasn't what it should be, give it a different this and that, and I did it, and then it ended up being better, and just so going back and forth with somebody like you was something that helped me learn the recording process, and to not let your ego get in the way of things. You may think that this is the way that you had it planned, but now we're in this situation and it ends up being something different. That, I mean, with the continuum thing, it was something I went in there with no patterns whatsoever. I just came in there with words, and we freestyled the way that we were going to say it to that song that day, and that was actually another cool experience. And you were there for us at that time too, to tell us like, no, dude, that do it again, and
I
I
don't
love
remember.
that.
So that was like what 2013, because
Something like that, yeah, around there.
we're not
It came
talking
out a
the new
long
continuum, because
time later.
that's Riley on the new continuum, right? Yeah.
Right. I just did a guestie.
Yeah.
All I did was just come in for
Oh,
a
okay,
day.
gotcha.
Yeah. I came in
I
for
was
a
confused.
day, and when Josh was still involved,
Right. Okay, that makes
so
sense.
the second track on that album is Josh, me, and Riley. But that was literally just no preparation on how was going to be said, how we were going to do it. It just came with a pile of lyrics. Let's go. And I thought that was a cool experience too. And again, just to go back with what I was saying, having somebody like you behind the board and on the mic to immediately communicate with during that, it just was a good learning experience in a great way. And that's what I'm saying for all the young cats. Get your ego out of the way. Just get your shit on point, make the song what you want it to be, and then when you go into the studio, whoever you're working with, just know that dude should be more professional at hearing what it's supposed to be. And I mean, obviously not changing songs on you in the studio, but I'm saying like your takes.
Zach's like,
It
sometimes
depends it depends what you're wanting to do.
Here's a little
Because
secret.
I have done some good work with people, especially more recently, where it's like they're they're and I wouldn't do it without being asked to, but like like they want to help with arranging stuff and putting songs together, and that's not something I'm bad at. I'm bad at my creativity got destroyed around the time I was 18, 19 years old by this job. Like anything I do, when I write a song now, I was just like, no, this is dumb. Everything seems silly, derivative, and I like lost any passion to like write my own stuff and riffs, or what I liked doing was like drums. Is like I didn't mind writing drum parts, but I had a huge problem with like writing the music that they were going to. Like I don't know if it's an ego thing. It might be because I just everything I read, I'm like this sucks. I can't put my name behind this. I just can't be a part of this. And so it's like when other people bring me parts of a puzzle to put together, I still feel I have a pretty good knack to help them put that together well.
I was
So-
gonna bring up actually to have you guys together right now. I don't remember it fully, but there was a part in the last song, "Collapse of Recreation," Joel, that I think that Zach actually played on bass, and we didn't put him in the liner notes because
Really?
we had it
No,
one
no,
way.
I
my
think you're mixing it up
memory
with.
is like we had it planned one
demo.
way.
It was a demo. We did the demo, and Dan did a little bit on bass because it was so fast I couldn't do it.
My memory is Zach's like, dude, you should play it like this, and he grabbed the bass and he did something.
That I mean,
different.
he did that with All Realm. And then actually, liner notes. Casey actually ended up fucking nailing that acoustic part. Remember that, Zach? Zach
Yeah,
actually
no,
was like,
I wrote a post
Yeah.
about that because
yeah,
it was literally one of the funniest things.
yeah.
All of us played it.
yeah.
Carrie says Joel should play this part. We were hoping he'd play more stuff. Let's have Joel try it. Joel immediately picked it up. Was like, okay, now you're better at it. You do it, Carrie. Carrie
Yeah.
works on it for a while. It sounds easy, but it's actually pretty hard
Super
to do
hard.
to that speed and click
Yeah.
because it's delicate.
BPM.
You can like
Yep.
accidentally pick too hard. And then while he was doing that, I played a weird simplified version in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've recorded Carrie's, but then Carrie's like, why don't you try, Zach, go in there and try the simplified version. I did that, and we were like, okay, cool, that's better. Let's use that instead. And then somebody was like, well, what if you did just the embellishments? And I was like, I can't. I haven't played fingerstyle on a guitar in a while. It's kind of difficult. I could do it, but it would take practice. I was like, wait a second. Can't Casey play this? Casey's in the room. Why don't we have the best guitar player in here who actually has this delicacy to do this, to try it? And then Casey obviously had it. I mean,
I just had
it was right in your wheelhouse of playing.
Well, you were playing it like all sick, like classical with your fingers, and I was like, oh, I could kind of do that, like kind of like fake it with a pick though.
You weren't faking it though. Like I couldn't do it the way you were picking it. I'm not good at delicately like, playing some like Dust in the Wind style like picking stuff. It's
Casey,
hard
he
to
never.
do this
Casey
stuff.
even never tried it. He just heard it. He was like, oh, I know what you're doing. He was like,
Yeah.
okay. He's like, what about this?
Casey's
Just
being
like
modest. He
forward-
has
yeah,
this
I know. He's
down.
super modest.
Yeah.
Like he went
Well,
in
I
just
was
like, just nailed it. And we're like, okay, that sounds
Yeah.
way better like that. I'm like, what are we doing?
I do
Any
want
band
to
that doesn't work that way is doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah,
Bands
yeah,
that
that's
think
true.
like,
That's the ego. Go back to
oh,
the ego
I'm
thing.
going to worry about who
Yeah.
played the part, but the drums are going to be triggered and quantized.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what are we talking about? Just like, unless you're going to really be like, oh, we all have to be in the room and play together.
man.
Like, which I love doing records like that. That has a feel thing. But if we're not doing it like feel, if we're putting parts together and we're like tracking stuff carefully,
Yeah.
then what are we talking about? Who's playing isn't
Who could do it?
If I was
Yeah.
recording and then this Anthony just came in and just shredded me on the drums, like I'd be like, fuck this, dude.
I wish I could,
But
dude.
dude,
That'd be
I
so
just-
sick.
I just want to say I can't share things because I've tried before and I fail super hard. So this link in the chat here is the I don't know, Joel, if you want to share it, but that's us in the studio with you, Zach, doing Cryptic.
I don't even
So
see
there's
it.
There's
Oh, there we go.
it's the I don't know how
I
this
see it now.
I don't know
But
how it works.
Having that's what I'm saying. Like you could go in and record with a dude and he just fucking phones it in for his
Private
8
message it.
hours or whatever. But hearing this story and how I felt working with you in Cryptic and Servile, and I'm like, no, you actually care about the projects that you're involved in, Zach, and that's that, and it shows.
I'm trying to look at this link he posted. Yeah, I mean,
No, I'm gonna put it right
is
on
it the
screen.
old one? Yeah, okay,
Uh,
I've seen this video. It's the 2006 one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, 6. You sure it's 6? It's not
Jesus.
7?
Yeah, it came
Yeah,
out in
okay.
2007,
November 2000 is
Yeah.
after the
Yeah.
blood. I remember it was November or something.
November.
I've seen
06.
that one. Joel's featured in
Yeah.
that video too, I think.
Oh,
But,
This one, right?
you're
it?
playing it.
Oh, there we
okay.
go. Jill's got it.
How are you? I'm just getting yes. Okay.
I'm getting
Something
camera.
really wrong with
Oh, there's
Remember-
Josh, dude. Oh,
Remember
dude,
Zach?
watch, oh, look.
I did did bass into his ears. That was our clip.
Wait, can you make it full screen, Joel?
Hold on a second.
I can do maybe that.
Good.
What does it look like this? 'Cause I
There you
haven't-
go.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
It's lo-fi to begin with.
Hey, your bass
Yeah,
still
yeah,
plugged in, right? Yeah.
I was
Go
just
ahead,
tapping.
So I didn't even have long hair yet.
Yep, that's working perfect.
Yep.
Right here.
This is
Look at
Zach. Glasses.
those screens.
You can like change the.
Those screens are wild. See, we're still in the CRT
I was
era.
just checking out.
Damn. What a
So
trip.
to everybody listening, this is the garbage stew. This is Castle Ultimate 3.
Okay, this
Yep.
is 3.
The
Yeah.
trashy
Or
one
something.
that was functional. The functional trashy one.
Yeah, number 3.
I love
That's
this video. I've seen it.
Funny side note too, when Dan
Shout
came
out
in,
Dan
'cause-
Eggers.
Yeah, I love Dan.
Mhm.
Dan Eggers, amazing. But when Dan came in, because Dan had to work, he couldn't play with Casey, so it was like, Joel, can you like dirty up your bass and then play with Casey in his ears? And I was like, fuck, because we had no click or anything clicked out. And Dan came in after we were done and was like, dude, you guys went way too fast. Like, I don't know if I can play this. He was like freaked out. He was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Well, Matt, we were all excited, to be in the studio. We had no idea, anyways.
Can you imagine if that record was slower?
What's that?
I know.
Because like that's kind of the thing. Like I was saying, like those 3 records kind of set the groundwork for like a decade of tech death coming to me right after that, of just like way too many bands to name that were all, I think, predicated on that sound that was, I'd say a lot of it was coming out of Santa Cruz, California, frankly. Like there was a Santa Cruz death metal style that I think really started to reflect on the greater world after that. Also simultaneously starting this whole deathcore thing, because we had just done that As Blood Runs Black record that blew up.
Yep.
That kind of stuff was all the exact same period of like 2006, 2007.
Right. I over here, I think it's just the mushrooms, dude.
Is that really your? It's not a bad like guess as to what's going on. Like there's something clearly about that area that created. I know there's tech death from other places, but there's the Santa Cruz tech death sound that.
When it was weird, it was from like Decrepit Birth and stuff that was already there, and then Casey and everyone moved there, and David
Right.
and they moved there just randomly, just like to go to school or something. It was like nothing to do with like, oh, this is the spot where the mecca of death metal is. It was like they're getting educated there, so it just happened to like they lined up there. It was, and Brain Drill came out of that too, and a lot of that stuff. As
Yeah,
well, like a little later on.
David
but, like,
and Casey brought that psychedelic, I would say actually like San Diego psychedelic aspect to Santa Cruz as well too. Like they were down there experimenting while doing all those odious demos and jamming already, like this weird psychedelic brutal tech death sound, and brought it up here, and then we all started to latch on to it, and then we started doing shows and blah, blah, blah. We all end up together making weird tech death together at that time. We didn't know. That's the thing. You don't know what you're doing as you're doing it. And I didn't really contribute to the sound other than the monster
What you just said,
shit.
I gotta stop you right there. That right there, you don't know what you're doing while you're doing it is so exactly what I'm talking about here. Like you don't know
Totally.
when you're at like this weird period where you're creating stuff that is influencing others, like and it's little specks that are like super important, and you don't know it when it's happening. You know it like 10 years later.
it's like with
I
most
think
bands,
about
like
that when I see
Seattle.
bands that are breaking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good example. Those, you
Yeah.
think those bands had any idea that this stupid shit they were playing was gonna like latch on, become an international sensation? No, probably not. They probably thought
Yeah.
that they fucking hated their parents and their lives and like doing drugs.
Exactly, and it's pretty
True.
dead on.
That's
with
fair.
that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's like that's probably what makes the best art is people doing their own thing, and they're not like influenced. Like we have to one up this band. That's when like things get
It's like
Probably
a
a little-
It's all these little cauldrons that have been spun and turned for ages now. All we did was throw a couple new spices in it, really, if you think about it.
Right. I mean,
But
I mean,
those
this-
new
this-
spices kind of,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, "Oh, dude, I like this soup I like this type of soup over here, dude.
It's like the going to the first Machine Head. I mean, you know Rob and stuff. Like the
Yeah.
first Machine Head was groundbreaking. Like people didn't
Burn My
hear
Eyes,
that.
dude, was a
Yeah,
great, powerful record when I came across it, dude.
one of the heaviest recorded albums at the time. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like this is I could tell it was organic feeling. And then you could tell like bands usually, because people always say I like their older stuff. You know, I like their older stuff, and that's I think
Yeah,
it's for a
that
reason, a little bit, because I feel like they're maybe more organic with it in the beginning, and then they're like, oh, we're signed now,
what
and we have to
worked.
put out,
Yeah.
we have to put up material now. We have to put up material now. It was not like in the beginning where they had this like excitement towards it, where there was like a natural excitement, organic excitement, to now where they have to, the labels like, put out a new album. Come on, hurry up, do it,
Yeah.
do it, do
No,
it, and
that's the
then
thing.
yeah,
I think that's why I think there's several factors in what you just said as to why the new record they just did's been so successful. I mean, for one, the same guy mixed it that mixed Burn My Eyes. That helps. But like, uh, you know, that's the old aspect. The fresh aspect is they weren't even in a rush to do a record. Like, he just was wanting to put these songs that were coming to him to tape one by one. You know, I'm saying to tape, you know what I mean. And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Mhm.
and we're down, we're so close to each other, and like, I mean, physically, like we're literally like right there together. It's like when we needed to do something, we did it pretty quick, and then I helped him set up so he could just record vocals the second he's thinking of them, and we could refine them later. But he had, a good setup to actually track himself for vocals. And I think it really changed things that no label was pressuring them, to get something done. They were, deciding what to do with their next record deal and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Eventually, kind of they put this out jointly between Nuclear Blast and their own record label, and you know their relationship with Nuclear Blast and Roadrunner is all through the A&R guy Monty Connor for
Yeah, yeah,
straight
Monty,
since
yeah.
1994. So,
Hmm.
but I absolutely remember with the record previous, like they were under pressure to get a record out, and there was a lot going on, and I don't think that leads to a particularly good creative environment, and everybody's trying to make their stamp on things and get
Yeah, it becomes
things
more
how they want.
financial, right? It becomes
Right,
more. I
yeah,
mean,
it becomes.
yeah. It's like what's going to be successful. Like it's
I
not
don't
like
think anybody's thinking that, but like
it's in
those
there.
pressures are there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
The
I mean, you get that
pandemic
vibe. Yeah.
I've been waiting for every true creative force to like come out with their pandemic records, and some of them have been really amazing, and some of them have been, seems like maybe they needed all the like everybody's different. Like
That's
everybody
true.
responds different in the studio. Everybody
Hmm.
responds differently as people to different stimulus, and that I've talked about. I remember I talked with on the Copper Crab podcast about this, about how there's like these different personality types of people you're recording, and you have to immediately recognize them and adapt to them.
Hmm.
Like the type of people that need to be competitive and challenged. Like I don't think it's a
Mm.
bad thing that Metallica and Megadeth coexisted, and like
Hmm.
absolutely were like fuck you to each other and be like I'm gonna one up you
Mm.
Yeah.
as best I can. Like I think that created like an arms race that
Sure.
spawned creativity in
Definitely.
that case. But like there's also people that need to be left alone and coddled, and then there's people that just literally need to be challenged and angered. And
Yeah.
like if
It's
they
like
don't get that, they have to
Interesting.
hate their producer
you could relate
potentially.
it to
Like,
sports kind of. It's sports kind
oh
of. In
yeah.
some, yeah. It's just like that's you have to be like that in sports. Like you have to see what the next level is, and you have to go above it.
There's
You know what I
also
mean?
Zen guys in sports that are like all like I mean everybody says like a lot of the star quarterbacks aren't the super competitive dudes, and some of them are like, but some of them are like the I'm just gonna let everything stay calm and do my
Hmm.
own thing,
Yeah.
and whoever bothers
Hmm.
me, I'm not bothered by anything, you know.
Definitely.
Just
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, I guess,
But
yeah,
are you
yeah,
guys talking about
absolutely.
like, are you comparing coaching, getting coached as being in the studio with a producer or something
No, I
like
think
Well,
that?
he's talking.
I was talking about personality types of people that
Yeah.
need to be challenged and need to be competitive,
Hmm.
and it's not like some people respond really well to, oh, I'm going to be isolated for 2 years and make a record
Mhm.
with no, I'm just going to finally have a chance to not get influenced by all these outside forces. And some people just really made amazing things, and some people were just absolutely not able to feed off anything because they needed they needed things to
That's a
be
good point.
upsetting them and like
Yeah.
other individuals. And it doesn't make, I don't think that makes certain types better or worse. I just think it's important to quickly recognize what types you're working with.
I mean, speaking on that question, I know David posted one in here that actually kind of relates a little bit. But as far as like the most, I mean, you don't have to say the names, but I mean, you can if you want. But
I'll think about it.
like the most like difficult one you've engineered and why, and then like favorite
Difficult
album you've done.
album? Oh, I see. There's the question. Okay.
Yeah.
Difficult? I'll think on that. Favorite? So the favorite album's like a favorite child question, so it's like kind of a tricky question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could say so many to answer that question. Uh, I can't answer that
Yeah,
favorite
there's,
album
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
question.
big
I've done
list on
something
that.
like 2 to 3 thousand albums. It's not.
Jeez.
I don't think that's an exaggeration.
Think of like
so
super fun one though. Like
And just to
there's
give
been
everyone an
lots of
idea,
super fun ones.
just to give everyone an idea, I kind of want to do this real quick. I looked up your discography.
This would help me right now
is
because I'm
this
like,
on
oh shit.
Discogs?
Look at this. I
Well,
mean, it's the
what
stuff
is
you just
that?
work.
Discogs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Discogs,
that's
dude.
no, that's Encyclopedia Metallicum, right?
No, it's just
No, that's
Discogs.
Discogs.
I mean,
I put
that's
it on.
incomplete too. There's All Music
I put
has
it
a
on.
totally different list.
Yeah, I put it on dark mode, but
These are
um,
only the ones that like, see the light of day and get put out on a label that gets submitted to
just look at these
something.
names though. It's like you got obviously we got what was it? I saw All Shall Perish, obviously. You got Brain Drill, Carnifex, All Shall Perish again, Flesh Consumed. Jesus, I haven't heard that name in forever. Entheos,
The
Ex
new Ex Mortis
Mortimus.
record that just came out, I really enjoyed doing that record. That was fun.
Hell yeah.
That's my favorite. That's our 6th record I want to say together, and it's easily my favorite. Like,
Abhorrence. You're talking about like Brandon's. Sorry to cut you off.
yeah,
With that.
that's like 2002.
Yeah,
I
you got
love these
the
credits
Shut
from
It Down.
2002. Are you going
I think it's
chronologically here?
yeah, it's chronologically. Yeah.
Oh, these are real old. So the
Taste
Set
of
Your
Blood,
Goals
which
thing
is
blew up.
I was the
Taste
one
of Blood, dude.
I
I
started
have
Taste
that.
of Blood with everyone, but
I have
I
the
quit.
physical copy of that album right there.
Yeah.
I do
Set
not.
Your Goals. Light Your City. I mean, just look at Suicide Silence.
So right here, this is where I was talking about. This run starting here, I didn't
Okay.
realize how many of these records were going to be like just groundbreaking records that
It's crazy,
set
man.
off
There's
bands.
Cryptic. I
This
see
one.
Cryptic. That tiny little one right there.
Red Shore. I'm just like so many fucking projects, man. Diminishing, Severed. Jesus, man. I remember this band. I remember watching this recording of
Oh
the bass
yeah,
player in
those
this band.
guys.
Yeah, yeah. Blood Oath. So did you record Blood Oath or mix
No,
it?
no, just mixed. That was
Okay,
that
okay.
was something Gerardo just called me. He's like, "Hey,
Oh, Gerardo. That's right.
we need to like create a collaboration here because we want this to
Jesus.
sound more like All Shall Perish and less like their last few albums."
Like literally just to show you guys, I'm like, I mean, it's
It's like you're like 20% through
20
the
and
list
12.
right now.
All right, but you asked what's most difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
And I want to think about that question because there's been some difficult, obviously lots of difficult things.
Like
It's not
mixing
necessarily insulting.
egos and playing and all the things in together. Like, what would you think? Like the
Side
hardest
note.
one?
Honestly, just like what drove me to Near Insanity would be Catharsis by Machine Head because that became a thing where at the last second I'm mixing something like 55 tracks and I had like a week. Like, and it wasn't necessarily the plan all along. I was only supposed to be doing the live record, but the guy that was mixing the record, that whole thing broke off. And I'm like, well, what are we doing? It's like, well, we really like the rough mixes we've been doing. Let's just refine those and get them better. We'll work with Andy Sneap and try to get this. But like, it was so much in such a short period of time. There was a deadline to work with. That was hard. There's no hardest record though. That's like you said, difficult. Like you're talking also with people. I mean, had a I've had a record where the band broke up in the studio.
I was
I've
gonna
had
say, my
multiple
side
records
note
have
was like,
fights.
have you
Who?
ever had anybody get violent with each other? Like,
I
or
mean,
is it
are you
just
sure?
arguments?
There's been a band that was beaten to within an inch of their life in my parking lot, but I never actually got to work with them because
Was
of
it
that.
before or after a session? Like,
Before they showed up in town, This is a whole story. You could Google this on Lambgoat, but the band was called Armed for Battle, and they were from the Reno hardcore scene, and
That's right. Animosity. You talked about this on the Copper Crab, right?
yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But he just asked, did anybody get physically assaulted? The answer is definitely that time. That's the only time I could think of. I saw the only time I had a real fight in the studio that got pretty physical were two brothers in a band. So
That sounds like something like that would happen.
Dang,
yeah.
So what?
Odious
it
was
just-
contentious, right? I remember you guys being pretty testy with each other. I want to say.
I don't remember that at all.
Not to
actually.
credit,
Me and
but,
Casey
like,
might have gotten a little back and forth while I was in the studio. While I was in
I
the
don't think
booth.
there was. I don't remember any like negative vibes actually.
No,
Maybe
not
I was-
negative vibes. Okay. I mean, there's been I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. There was a session once where there were two members of the band that actively had given up on liking the singer and were truly trying to sabotage him. That's happened before.
Sabotage him while
man.
they're paying
I mean,
you.
coming in to just piss him off. Like, they were just, like, walking up. They just wanted him dead. He had apparently, like, really just rubbed them the wrong way at that point. But by the beginning of the record, none of this had happened. It had just kind of stretched on. It was one of those sparse
Jesus.
things. Like, they weren't expecting them to show up, and they showed up just to bother him. Like, they had been done for some time. They showed up just to bother him. I remember that being like, okay, wow, all right, that's one use of your time.
Right.
Well,
There's been a lot of
what-
dumb shit over the years. I once canceled a guy who's now a really well-known guitarist. Like, his band was 2 days into mixing a record with me, and I got such bad vibes from him that I was just like, no, it's okay. Like, I don't expect you to pay me or anything, but I think I don't want to move forward working on this project
Wow.
anymore. And then
Yeah,
never
yeah.
worked with him again. And like, that guy's somewhat famous now and signed to a label. I hope we never really cross paths or they even remembers that,
Yeah.
because it's hilarious to me that they ended up being fairly successful, because my vibe with them immediately, and with many other people from what I hear, but like, was like, okay, no, I don't want to deal
Yeah.
with this person. And there's plenty of situations where I wish I had done that with people, where, you know, you're just working with people that are genuinely bad people looking to screw over other people. And
Those are the kind of people that just
Being
need to
bad
learn
people.
how to record themselves.
Well,
You know, they need to learn how to record
not.
it, or not, or
Yeah.
not, or just
Or
be
not,
afraid.
yeah.
I've
just
had
goes-
bad experiences with labels. Shocker, but you know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not-
Yeah.
that's no surprise.
well, dude,
Yeah,
Zach,
yeah.
I was gonna say like, I'm not gonna like call out or pinpoint which
Oh, go ahead.
recording what we're talking about. No, it's okay. But I was gonna say there is when I was in the studio with you recently, we were kind of reminiscing about years back, and I've done at least 3 albums with you before that on drums. You know, then this was a 4th one, and
Easily
were
the
si-
smoothest.
yeah, thank you, man. And it was fun. But it was funny. We were talking about, and there was some. I want you to just air like just some funny stories or dirt or anything you got on me, dude. Like you're like, oh, I remember
Sure.
like there was
Sure.
that time
He's
where
like,
you
sure.
just like
I love it. I love it.
totally. I was like, what are you even playing? Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, this is like so bad.
It
or
wasn't
something.
directed at you as much as at your band. So when you did Cryptic Implosion, I was like, this guy came in and he fucking just nailed stuff, and I knew you had really good ability as a drummer, and I was really happy with how that record goes. And then the Decrepit Birth stuff comes around, and you're like woefully unprepared and reading off sheet music, and that's record
He's like,
one.
yep.
And everybody's like, well, okay, this is all really last second. Matt just gave me the songs. I'm like, then why are we recording now? Like, well, it's like, I've never recorded a drummer before that's like in a serious group that was, I mean, I've done plenty since, because this is way more common these days, but like,
He's just ahead
for
of his
people
time.
to just pass guitar pros around and like be like,
Yeah.
here, learn this part, and then guys don't necessarily have them. That's a new phenomenon, though. This is what, 2007, I guess, probably.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, why are you here? Like, why would you pay me a daily rate to be here just to not know the songs yet and like be struggling through them, especially because I knew you could play them, but like it's Decrepit Birth. It's not easy, and like you had never literally heard what you were about to be doing. So fast forward a few years, probably I guess 2009 or 10 now. We're on album 2. The last record we did is pretty successful, and things are going great. And I assume you guys are like, okay, this is the record where everybody gets their shit together. No, it was way less prepared. Like, less
way
was
less.
ready. It was only half written. there's a few part songs that are just riffs that they had you improvise over, right?
This is
Like,
polarity, right?
yeah, this is the
Yeah.
album Polarity. And I mean, Matt probably had everything together in his head, but he had apparently. I mean, I think your side of this is that you didn't get this all until last minute. But once
It was like
again, you're
last
in the
second.
studio
It was last
sheet
second.
music that you're turning
No-
pages while playing bass beats.
No
Which
co-
I'm
no
just like,
comment.
no.
Well, I know Matt literally
You
like
did
he
ask
was.
for this.
There was probably.
Oh no,
I know,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
saying.
no,
I'm not saying
that's-
anything. I'm just like,
I
thank
love
you.
it.
Go
I love
ahead.
it.
You
No, but
say
I know
anything.
that Matt was like, just for even me doing like the limited bass stuff I did on it because
Yeah.
I didn't even know the songs. Like when it went to the studio, he just kind of like finished the album real quick and we went to the studio and like came out great, but it was like didn't ever hear these songs, so it was like, well, I guess that's gonna be all you, dude, because I have one day to learn like 9 songs. It's not or 5 songs. I'm not gonna do it. You know what I mean? So
And
it
that's
was
what
like,
bugs me. I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
bothered because it's like, oh, these guys are sloppy or something. No, that would never bother me. Like I've worked with, I love working with musicians that like,
Dude, that's
I
incredible.
like helping people sound better than they can
Yeah.
actually play. I don't have any problem working that. That wasn't the issue I had with this. Is like, you were an elite drummer, Matt was an elite guitar player. You guys were this band with all this like talent, and you had songs, but like at no point before coming to me had you actually rehearsed or like played them even once. And I'm like, that's obviously not
It's a
the
true
best
story.
way to go about things.
No. So
Yeah, it's true.
one thing I'll say that's pretty funny is so there's that song like I think it's Metatron or something, and
Yeah.
that was a song that was I never played live. So that was a song that was I think we played Polarity and a couple Symbiosis. We played some of those like those songs off Polarity live like towards the end. But I was leaving the band, and so I was doing the album like and then I left the band. But basically, we never played that song live, and then I think I remember like it was a Gabe or somebody was talking about like songs that they like to play or something, and like, oh yeah, like Metatron and this or something. I don't remember who was talking about it, and I was just
Bye,
like,
Gabe.
I don't even know how that song goes. Like honestly, like I really don't, dude. But I should.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny. I don't know. But yeah, like
yeah.
listen
That
to
was like
Polarity.
the first single from the record, I think.
Yeah,
I think it might have been. Yeah.
but there's
Yeah,
sometimes I
crazy.
listen to it and I'm like, oh wow, this is a cool song. I wish I like knew how it went. Like but it just, dude, Matt is. I have to say even though that's like hard to do that, like or that's chaotic, like recording a lot of songs like right off the bat. But that dude wrote like so many songs so fast,
So
and
quick.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
no.
insane,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
None of that's what I'm complaining about here.
No, I know.
It's the
I'm just,
communication in the band.
I'm just
Preparation going
No,
in.
no,
is
I
you're
love
talking
what you're
about.
saying. I'm just saying on my end.
Yeah.
It's a prep thing. And like,
Yeah.
Totally, dude.
it's nowhere near like, oh man, see, like that is the problem that you just brought up. It's like, yeah, there's good stories, but like, some of them are too specific, and I don't want to
know.
like call
That's
out
okay.
some random
That's
band, but
okay.
like,
But yeah, if
okay,
it's not,
I'm just trying to think of what needs to be removed. So like, there's a band that was doing a cover song of a very popular song on an album, on a record, on a big label, and I know this song they're covering really well. Have probably known how to play it since I was like 14, and they come in, they're like, cool. Yeah, we didn't really like think this. We didn't like learn it too well or anything, but like we've got it. It's this. It's such and
It's a
such. Like, we
cover.
know how to play it, right?
Yeah.
They're like, cool. And they play it. I'm like, I don't think like every riff was like the weird Kirkland brand version of the riff. It wasn't like quite right. And I was like,
shout out
fuck.
Kirkland brand, bro, dude.
And like
oh my god.
I also warned them. I'm like, these cover songs. I say this to bands all the time. Like, you think it's gonna be something you could just tack on the record? I bet you'll spend the most time on. They're like, no way, no way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then like, they absolutely spent the most time on it. I end up having to like play parts, and I was like, you cannot put this out. We made it like really far, and then like, I'm thinking about this as a band for you guys. Like, this could be a really bad thing if you put this out, because it's like you put out like a famous song with parts that are just like a little bit off all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, just like the wrong notes, like all, like you're just gonna look foolish. Like, it's not okay. We're gonna have to go through this and analyze and get it right.
Did they take your advice and not put it out?
Yeah, we also had time in this particular case because, like I said, it was a big label recording and all this kind of stuff. I was just like, that's the kind of stuff that will drive me nuts in the studio, because I'm like, you have to think about those kind of decisions before
Yeah.
you actually commit to like, oh, we're gonna cover, I don't know, Stairway to Heaven, but we're gonna play it like totally wrong. Like that's a bad idea.
And with some
I
blast
love covers
beats.
that are adaptive, like, you know, like you're doing like a death metal version of Madonna or something, sure, whatever. But like we're
Yeah,
talking like a death metal version of death metal and you just play it wrong. No one is gonna forgive you for that.
yeah,
They're gonna
yeah.
give you so much shit.
Right.
No,
I
I totally
agree,
get
dude.
that. Yeah,
I remember I saw Body Count did like a cover
Oh
of
God, yeah.
what was it? Of Slayer or something?
Slayer. Yeah, they did Rain and Blood, I think, right?
And I remember I was like, this isn't bad, but he's playing it like once again, it was like the same
Yeah.
thing where it's like the riffs aren't quite right. Like
Yeah.
he played like not quite the guitar or something. Like how like this was really well produced. Why did somebody step in and just be like, hey, you know, that riff actually goes like almost like what you're playing, but you're playing it wrong. Because
Yeah.
these are like really famous riffs. And I guess nobody cared because people loved it because it's Ice-T and it's fucking great sounding. But like
The song,
the
what is
riffs
it?
are wrong.
Voodoo off the first album. That's the fucking best song by Body Count, dude. And it's,
I don't even
They're
know.
all
it's
dark, it's really good.
hilarious, dude. It's
They were,
hilarious.
it was. I remember them just being. I've seen them twice. Actually, I saw them in a private Nam concert with it was
Oh.
them and Interloper. It was random two. It was like 2019.
Is that
And,
Miles?
Miles, yeah, Miles,
Yeah,
and
cool.
the other guitar player of he's in Faceless for a little while, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they were great. But then they did that. Body Count came on, did that cover, and fucking Ice-T was just pissed. Just like it was like a really small, intimate venue, and the
Okay.
mosh pit was like the most violent mosh pit I've ever been in, just because everything. It was at the Grove in Anaheim, so
Yeah,
it's
I've
like
been
kind of
there.
like this. Yeah.
Was he pissed in
Yeah.
character or was he actually pissed?
Oh, he's like, we're playing Slayer, motherfucker. You guys better go nuts.
Yeah, so he's showing
Yeah.
he's showing his like, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, you better. He's like pissed off that the pit wasn't crazy enough, and I was like getting like punched in the. It was like insane. It was like I was getting like brutalized, but I just heard the riff, and I'm like, wait, you're playing it wrong. like what's
Yeah.
going on? I
Oh,
was
so you
like-
noticed what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, that's when you said that. I immediately was
Yeah.
telling everyone just like, I mean, they had the spirit behind it, and it's Ice-T. You see, Ice-T is right in front of you, so you're like, fuck, this is like intense. Like,
Well, that's
like
what bugs
the-
me most. It's a good cover, except
yeah.
that it's like the bizarre choice to play. It's not a choice. That's the thing. I think he just didn't bother like really pick it up correctly and just keeps
Yep,
doing
exactly.
it. And I'm like, what are
Exactly.
you doing?
So what if that is really like Ice-T's just wanting to do a Slayer cover, but he's only the vocalist, so he can be like, they'll be in the studio like trying to play. He's like, dude, that's close enough, and then let's just fucking do it.
Yeah, I think
I
body
can't
count's
speak.
very. I think they're important. I think body count's very important for like a crossover, getting people into metal that aren't into, are more into hip hop and getting into metal and stuff like that. But
That was not pre. But
I mean,
like,
I know
So
the
was
old
Anthrax.
stuff
Right when
is
the rap
very.
and metal
The old
thing
stuff
was-
is very influential. I'm just talking about like them coming back and doing it now is kind of like
Yeah.
still important. I think it's very important. Like I was hanging out with on like backstage somewhere at a fucking, it was an Ozfest, I don't even know, but it was like Coco and Ice-T just watching Cannibal Corpse and just being like so down. Oh, I think we lost that.
yeah.
But like just super into it and super like fuck. I was like, that's huge. Just like them even doing that, and then fucking Corpse Grinder be like, this one goes out to Ice-T.
Well,
And Ice-T's just right there. and
Public
shit, and I was
Enemy
like,
did
this is
Bring
Walk
the
This Way.
Noise with
or Anthrax. That's sorry, wrong one.
You're
Yeah.
thinking of Run DMC, but
Yeah, Run,
Public
but
Enemy
the
was Bring
Anthrax thing was huge for me too. Like that helped get. I mean, I was into, that Anthrax was probably actually the first metal band I got into. Before,
Mhm.
now that I think about it, that was it. And it was because the rap crossover, and I was a little kid
Yep.
listening to rap music. I've
Yep.
noticed something that like back when I was a teenager, metal was, even through like the early 2000s, was a very cringy thing that no one outside of the metal scene, no one cool thought it was okay to be into metal, like at all.
Yeah.
And nowadays I'm seeing like the last decade or so, suddenly it's a very okay thing to be, like,
Yeah.
especially
I mean,
amongst young kids, it's not like a weird genre to them at all.
I'm 37 and I know what you're talking about, dude, where there was this divide when we were kids and I was the kid like you that liked both sides of it, but I couldn't like voice that because if you weren't into rap, then you're a rocker and vice versa. They didn't want you,
Yeah, separated you.
no peanut butter and chocolate mix type deal. It's like one or the other. And so but for me, it was these like crossover things that like started making me feel like, oh, now like all the shit that I like is starting to like meld together, and now it's starting to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's just they're both aggressive styles of music, you know. And you growing up in Oakland, like, and me growing up in the Bay, like it's hard to not hear a bunch of good hip hop when you live in the Bay Area, you know. And I succumb to it, and I love it still to this day. You know, when you mentioned Be Legit earlier, I'm like, dude, that dude was right next door to you. Like, I grew up on the Click, you know. It's like,
did you meet him?
no, I've never met him, but I'm just saying, like,
no, I meant like at the studio. He was there. I mean, he literally was in that studio almost every day that we were there.
That's crazy. And just hearing about the Click, not hearing about the Click, but just growing up on the Click and Be Legit, E40, all that stuff was like, you can't get away from that in the Bay Area. So
you can't get away from E40 now because of sports.
Yeah, the Warriors and shit.
He's sidelined.
Yeah,
at
all the big
game.
Warriors games. Yeah,
that's what's up, dude. He's representing, dude, and that's
not just Warriors, 49ers too.
Okay,
that's what the Bay's all about, dude. Is like,
and they zoom in on him, like the national broadcast will zoom in on him, just hanging out, going like, yeah, with those like gold glasses and stuff, and he'll be like, what's up? You know, like, and there's a national musician of E40 in the front. You know, like he gets like, yeah. Anyway,
it's super cool.
I don't really know.
Yeah, but it's just like the Bay Area vibe has been pushed out into the world by those guys. So I'm always down with the hip hop shit. But that's cool to hear that you were doing the kind of like the same thing just a few years earlier, like getting into hip hop.
Crossover got you,
and the crossover happened. Like, so, and I know there's people that don't like us talking about this, but whatever, dude. What about the new metal? What about the new metal phase?
Well, I know I was.
Okay, go into it. I was just gonna say, like, because you're such an honest person and how you talk about music. If you were to talk to someone that was pushback on metal and talking negative about it, like, with your attitude towards everything, which has no filter and just kind of like exactly like logical, this is what I think. How would you explain metal to someone that wasn't into it?
That sounds like a Newlywed Game question.
I know. Like, I think it's a White Claw game. I think I'm sorry.
I don't know, because I probably got into it because of the weird classical influence of it. Probably, in retrospect, that was probably what drew me to that I never really cared what, like, sounds that sounded good to me.
Yeah,
like, drew me into it. So I can't really break that down too easily, I guess. But you were about to ask about, I think, like, what about new metal? What about new metal?
Yeah, let's go to new metal.
New metal, I felt like I was into what new metal became way before it was a new metal. And by the time it was new metal, I wasn't as into it, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I was a huge Anthrax fan growing up. Like, that is essentially, like, the early rap metal stuff that existed. And then, you know, I definitely didn't hate it or really gravitate to it too much. I got to record not enough of it, and when I do get to record new metal sounding stuff, I do really enjoy it. We were just talking about band practice today about how, like, everybody hates on Limp Bizkit, yet Limp Bizkit to this day will put on incredible live shows and have an amazing guitarist and an amazing drummer that make for, like, really
Wes
good
Borland
shows.
And
and, like, say what you want, but, like, that band absolutely fucks live, and there's no, like, there's plenty of bands from new metal that people cringed about forever, and it just doesn't make sense. And
did you watch the train wreck? You watched the train wreck documentary?
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I'm almost.
I loved how they framed as entirely Fred's fault.
Yeah. Even though that Red Hot Chili Peppers came out at the very end and said, and they did the song "Light My Fire."
Yeah.
And while there's fires, and they're like trying to talk everyone out of like starting the fires.
Yeah, but Flea's a national treasure, and Fred Durst isn't.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. I mean,
Flea's got
maybe
a-
deservedly so, but like
Flea's got a decent hog, dude. After you watch this, dude, you can catch a
that was
couple frames of
I mean, they played
at
a
least
bunch of
4
shows
inches
basically
flaccid,
fully
dude. What's
nude
up?
in the 80s. Like the whole band used to do that. And then he just that was almost like a throwback show for them. I remember him doing the full nudity.
Nudity. We
They
used to do a
like
sock thing. They used to do a
the
sock on
sock
there.
thing.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
socks fell off, man. Like they're socks. They don't stay on. And they're
Woodstock
wild
also,
ass.
too.
I'm not
funk
gonna lie,
shows.
dude. I rewinded it a couple times because I saw the
You rewind it.
yeah, dude. You see the cord like as they finally go off after the encore. You see the cord. It grabs it and lifts it up a little bit after.
I love that. Alcohol's the funniest thing ever. I remember like the same thing
I was watching it sober though. So what did that? Where did it? Why
No,
does
just bringing it
alcohol
up now.
come
Bringing it up now. I was talking to Trevor when it happened. I'm like, Trevor was on his phone, and I was like, "Damn, that guy's got a fucking hammer, dude!" And like,
See,
Trevor looked
that's
up like right as
see?
he left.
You mean
That's
back in
locker room
'99?
talk, bro.
Were you watching? I remember watching Woodstock '99. I thought
Oh, yeah.
the funniest thing about the documentaries they didn't mention like they just didn't literally omitted some of the biggest bands that played it.
Totally.
Like
No,
they
that was
they
wasn't
didn't
that
mention
good
the
of a documentary.
Metallica show. They
Yeah,
didn't. It wasn't meant to be, I guess, a doc. It was
an
about it
older
being a
one.
disaster.
There's an HBO
Yeah,
one that they went into
exactly,
more
dude.
depth.
I liked
and
that HBO one.
Yeah, that was better. I mean, this one was more tragic, and they made you feel it
Yeah.
more. But going
I mean,
into
it
like,
was
a
overall
tragedy.
tragic.
it was a
It was
tragedy.
definitely a tragedy.
but also the
Mostly
HBO
because
kind
of the rapes.
yeah.
I don't
Yes.
care about the fires and stuff, but
No,
I mean,
me too.
the
Same.
culture that was like seemingly intentionally the idea like my favorite part about those documentaries they've been doing is they'll bring on the bad guy and just like set them up to think that they're like just doing a normal they're like, hey, we're gonna let you tell your side of the story. They're like, cool, I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell my side of the story. It's all Fred Durst's fault. And like this guy just looks like a complete he looks like an evil villain the whole documentary. Like,
It's like
no,
the third
kind of
day of
sounds
the
like you
show.
booked a bunch of aggressive bands,
Yeah.
didn't hire enough security, jacked up the prices on water by selling off all your concessions,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
and then basically had no infrastructure in place to protect
For
people.
security. Yeah.
How are they not going to play the most popular song at the time? Break stuff, dude. You know, like they're gonna play that song.
They're gonna enjoy it too. They're playing to the biggest crowd they've ever played in their life.
Was
All
it
the
the-
bands there.
The first night was like Corn, and then it was like
Yeah, yeah.
Bush after Corn or something.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like I mean, fucking Jewel played and shit. But I mean, the thing
Yeah,
is,
but I mean the
one thing
first night,
actually,
yeah.
one thing I will call out, and this might piss people off. I think
Uh-oh.
if that were to take place in California, I don't think that would have happened. I think it was the
no,
East Coast.
absolutely not.
The East Coast, the bro East Coast thing was going on top of the Limp Bizkit, like macho kind of like thing that like all it was. They were the number one band in the world at the time. So we're talking about the number one most popular music that was available, and then bringing that in with like the fucking not to say Jersey Shore to
pre-Jersey Shore,
yeah, pre-Jersey Shore kind of attitude of just like kind of like fuck it, I do whatever I want, and you know,
Kinda
chicks
frat
and
boy, a
pouring
bunch of
water
frat
on
boy
people and being it was like a little
mentality.
frat boy, total frat boy.
It was
I
the
feel
frat
like-
boy culture, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel
They
like
brought
the
that, though.
East Coast just kind of was more obviously they're just more aggressive in general. So like that whole like fuck it, we're getting fucked over attitude is what
yeah.
led to the
I mean,
whole
what third day it was $14 bottles of water, dude.
yeah, that's fucked up.
$14.
I just love the
bottles
people that
of
are like,
water.
I can't believe they're burning the place down. It's like
You hear
set
about
everything
what?
up to burn the place down.
You hear that one chick? She's like, "Yeah, well, as I was going home, I had sores all in my mouth and on my lips because of
Drinking
trench mouth. She was drinking
Yeah.
poo water, dude.
Yeah. There's so many
Jesus.
crimes committed by the owners,
so
by
many. Yeah.
the
And
people, by the attendees.
the mud fights and all that shit. They didn't realize they were just rolling around in sewage.
It's funny.
dude.
I like that part. That was the funny part too, because I was like, "Fuck these like heat like fucking idiots," and they're like, "Fuck yeah, mud," and they're just going in poop. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, because I mean,
We
it's
have,
fucked up that the plumbing was fucked up, but I mean, at the same time, like the guys that want to eat mud and do shit like that, I'm like, cool, this is
Oof.
your karma.
Well, this is the thing. You put a quarter million people in one
Yeah.
space, and it doesn't stay chill. It's gonna get crazy, dude.
It's like a lack
You
of
know?
security.
If
you
they
cheat
have
on
water,
security.
like everything
Yeah,
is
yeah.
available the whole weekend and all that shit, then things probably would have been different. But like humans, they get
And
crazy.
the firefighters didn't want to even come in. They're like, "Oh, it's burning. Like we're gonna wait till it calms down."
And I'm not
I've done this-
condoning their behavior. I'm just saying, like, that's already
Well, I
a
think
recipe
It's
for
this mob
disaster.
mentality.
I
Mob
think
mentality.
also when you get to like a certain amount of people, it becomes really sketch to like
Mob. Yeah.
yeah, and like I mean I've been to some shows up in San Bernardino, like in Iron Maiden and Ozfest and stuff like years back that there's like crazy fire, like burning plastic, and the people are running around these fires and they're like all over the place, dude. And it gets like nuts. And I was like really sketched and people like almost fighting, and like this dude like trying to fight like my friend's dad or my student's dad, like whatever, like families and stuff. And he's like, dude, like you're like bumping into my daughter and stuff, like what, just not chill.
Yeah.
It's like so, and I remember being sketched out when the crowd gets like shit, dude, we're like above 30,000 people, like around that 25-30,000 mark. It starts to get gnarly, and that shit was like, how many people were at that show? The us, I mean,
it's like a 250,000 probably, right?
250,000.
the
We're
Woodstock.
being
Yeah, dude,
checked.
that's like fucking
We're being
nuts.
checked in the chat right now, and I'm actually agreeing with the chat, dude. We mentioned Jersey Shore frat boys. They came from all over the place, dude. It wasn't just the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean they
mentality.
did, but let's say that, like, I mean, if we want to say the equal amount of people like flew on planes to get there versus people that drove,
But it's just
100 miles.
it's just that alpha,
It's a mob mentality.
weird.
It's the mob mentality. Like I feel like if there's people from California there with people from whoever, and it's getting violent, they're gonna rip shit down too with those people, just being like, fuck it, you know what I mean?
Been dehydrated and on drugs for the last 3 days.
Yeah. I remember them even asking like this girl that was there that was like kind of freaked out, and at the end, and she's being interviewed now, but she's also being interviewed back like on MTV or just a random reporter, and she was like, they asked her, "Would you go back?" She's like, "100%. This is the best thing I've ever dealt with." Well, like cool, and she's like,
she was
like
one
riots.
of the VJs from MTV. That's what they called them back then. VJs.
Oh no,
He's talking about concert goer.
Yeah, it was a concert.
Oh, just a
remember who you were talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. She was like, "Fuck yeah, I would go back." And now she's all like, she's like 40 something now. Like, fuck that. Like, I wouldn't go. But at the time, though, she was like, that was so much fun. It was like a let loose of whatever, and all your energy, and it was
And when
just
you're
like
faced with it, like crazy shit, like you're gonna get a better story out of it than just the boring shit in your life. So even though during the time being at Woodstock 99, you're faced with, oh shit, I might get hurt or fucking trampled or whatever. You come out of it fine, then you have that story for life.
Well, Woodstock 2009 would not be, or 2009. 99. Would not be a story if they just fucking, nowadays you go to like a sorry to keep bringing up sports, but like a football game, like there's security at every turn. It's like you can't fuck around for a second. Like if you
It makes enough money is the reason. I mean, that's really it. Like they were trying to. Woodstock 94 had 350,000 people at it. It was fine. It just didn't make money because they failed to have a good gate. They failed to turn a profit. So they're like, hey, let's try this a third time. This time without the destruction of the first one and without the lack of profit of the second one. And then corporate greed just took over. They're like, well, let's cut every corner possible.
Well, the difference between 94 and 99 is that 94 had like Sheryl Crow and had
but it had like Green Day getting pelted with mud.
Yeah, and the Offspring and stuff like that too, right? But I still think that the aggression of like Kid Rock and stuff like that definitely had this like hype behind it. Korn, all these things like had this metal hype behind it of these. Yeah, definitely. They try to like hype it like that with like the even less security.
94 was a lot different than 99, like music time.
Like being, Pearl Jam
being around back then, it was like 94 was like, the 99 was like
fuck it,
paint my face like white,
Yeah, I mean, it's like
eyes, like
they were over the that's what it was.
Coming down.
There was heavy performances at 94. There's like Metallica and Nine Inch Nails. There were like and like I said, there's the whole mud thing going on. In 94.
Oh, was that the one that Nine Inch Nails played at? Was all sick with the mud.
Yeah,
was that 99. Yeah, that was really
94.
Good. Well, 94. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying a lot of these. It's not like 94 wasn't aggressive. It was just a lot better put
Gotcha.
together,
You're right.
and it was
Yeah.
it was a lot better environment. People weren't mad. I
But
really do think that
well,
mattered.
Yeah.
but
I
the
think
music,
this like culture-wise, people
but
were pissed
but
at
new
that, at
metal was a
99.
lot bigger in '99 than it was in
It didn't
'94.
exist in '94.
Exactly,
Literally,
yeah.
that
So
wasn't a
99, yeah.
genre.
Nine
That's
Inch
the
Nails was
reason.
way ahead of their time in
The
terms of being
precursors,
like
though, like
they're way better than
Sepulture's Chaos AD. That's a precursor in new metal, I believe.
Yeah.
Machine
Roots
Head, Burn
is
My
new
Eyes.
metal. Yeah.
Yeah, Roots is a new
Yeah.
metal album.
But I'm
Yeah.
saying
Not
the
Burn My
precursors.
Eyes, but like 2 records later, they like '99 they came out with a full.
But I'm
blown
saying
new
that's
metal
where
record.
it started bubbling up. You
Yes,
know,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Chaos AD. There's songs on there where you're literally like, well, Hatebreed took this as a blueprint for
Well,
their
Chaos
whole
AD
shit.
KSID was one of my
Hardcore.
10 favorite records as a kid. Like
I started
straight up.
metalcore and hardcore. I thought with the breakdowns, the dun 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 dun, like the Chaos ID was kind of like they just did that normally, and that's I saw like Hatebreed did that later, and I mean a year later, and just like it's kind of bubbled up from the breakdowns came from Chaos ID.
What
Is what I see.
10-ton was it? 10-ton Hammer? Is that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Machine Head?
That's from their second record.
That
Second record,
one is totally new metal.
But what I think the differences between the 94 and 99 is that we're not talking about like, oh, there's a different style change. And we're talking about these are bands that are on the top 5 most
Yeah.
popular albums right now. Like this is like the people that are now have moved on from that like immediately because that wasn't the popular thing the next week. They were there because that was the most popular thing with like their wife beaters and just like, fuck yeah,
Right.
brother. Let's go into fuck. You know, they just cared about the popular shit right then, and that's what it was. And
Ben
you get all the
Davis,
popular people together.
Ants.
Yeah. When you get the popular crowd involved with like an aggressive style of music, that's actually, I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think it's not. That doesn't work. You know.
Well, do you think
crazy.
if you had like a cold chamber show or like an actual like straight up new metal band? Because we're talking about like Korn, Slipknot, Limp Bizkit, these front runner bands, but there was like an entire genre of actual
Spineshank.
like
Yeah.
like exactly like new
Yeah.
metal. That's what we are right from the get go bands. Because I think Korn has some origins in their own thing, but like
Mm-hmm.
the new metal from the start bands that were like their own thing were the new metal thing. I remember those shows having a lot of positivity to them.
Yeah,
Actually,
me too.
like that's what I'm saying. Like they weren't like that far away from like Insane Clown Posse type of vibe to like how people will react to it. But then, like you said, it goes into what you're getting at is that aggressive mainstream music is where
Exactly.
the danger is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I kind of see what your point is because then you're like hitting this audience that's just using it as an excuse to do things they already do but worse.
Exactly.
Right.
Like let's go to a rock show and just fuck it up. Kind of like bro guys,
Underground
you know?
metal hits like the regular veins, but hitting the main artery. That's where it's like getting
But
up.
are they
into
hitting the mud veins?
Oh
Sorry.
shit! Which, by the
Yeah,
way,
Mud
they're back, dude. Mudvayne's
Yeah.
back. I want to see what
Yeah.
they're doing.
So there was that Casey Brand episode where he was like, okay, what would you say? So Zach, you're a drummer that was into the new metal thing. The both Anthony and this guy Casey Brand.
He wasn't in the new metal.
Yeah,
thing.
look what you're talking about. But yeah, go on.
I mean, you listened to it, right? You
I played in
understand
like
it?
a million genres of bands, and none of them have been particularly new metal.
Well, fine. But would you?
Yeah,
what
go
would you
ahead.
say that? But what would you say? Like, because you're like you know how to hit drums and stuff, right?
Yeah,
What would you say that like they were saying that Mudvayne's drumming was more interesting than Slipknot's drumming?
I
I
just think
said
Mudvayne's
that.
a more interesting band, frankly. But that's
Bullshit.
I've never been a
Everyone's saying
Slipknot
this.
fan.
Why you? So since last
never
week,
vibed
you haven't
with me. I
listened to
didn't
any Mudvayne? Did you listen to LD50 since last week, dude?
I didn't.
Yeah. Then why didn't you come prepared if you're gonna come bring that up again?
I don't know.
I don't know.
was-
Mudvayne is way closer to the kind of like Mudvayne's closer to like Primus to me than it is to like a stock untalented new metal band or something. Like they're
Right.
very high. They're almost tech, you know. Like and
See,
so
dude?
I enjoyed it. I thought their look was incredibly silly when I was younger, but now I'm like in retrospect I'm like that makes sense for the time that, you know, I hated the era of new metal, but like musically looking at it, I don't have a big problem with it, and I never really did. Like I never
Yeah.
I found some really interesting stuff about some of the music.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are gems that still stick with me today. All
I
the
think the
other,
worst part is bands that like went new metal to
yeah,
try to
like
adapt,
what
like
Joel was saying, the
Metallica
Spine Shank.
even,
I
you
can't
know?
remember the last time I listened to Spine Shank.
Spine
Dude.
Shake was sick.
Was it?
I
It was,
can't
it's,
Well,
remember.
they were
well,
a
I mean, it's
Roadrunner
like
band,
it's an industrial band. It's industrial and it's like Nine
industrial
Inch
new
Nails
metal.
meets. It's like
It's
Nine
like
Inch
Fear
Nails meets.
Factory if they went new
Yeah, yeah,
metal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. New.
I
I mean,
Which
stand
Fear
by
Factory
saying,
actually,
was kind of
side
dope.
note, Fear
yeah,
Factory is definitely proto new or proto. Am I
Yeah,
using that word correctly?
I
Proto.
I
guess
mean,
so.
Fear Factory and Slipknot kind of had that more aggressive take of. I think they're both considered at that time maybe new metal, but they had like a more fast aggressive take on it. You know, is
Right.
my surmising. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Fear Factory could be a silent contributor to like the gent shit too, right?
Oh,
You
yeah,
think?
Oh
definitely.
yeah, definitely. Like the
Everybody
Meshuggah
talks about
style.
Meshuggah, but I'm like, what up with Fear Factory, guys? Come on.
It's like doing
Meshuggah,
this. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm just gonna say Meshuggah is like easily one of the most influential bands on my life, but also like one of the few bands that I look at and look at their little progression, their career, and what happened with them early on. And it's something like it seems almost alien what they came up with. And
Yeah.
I don't think they get enough credit for how interesting the Nun EP is and what an evolution it is in music to that
Yep.
point. Because it's like taking crazy jazz fusion techniques and completely changing them and inventing a genre of metal
Yeah.
that no one wanted to hear. That's the best
Definitely.
part. Like they're just inventing this thing now. We were talking earlier about like music technologies, and I was thinking about how there's been an AI thing generating new Arcspire music 24 hours a day on YouTube for like 3 years now.
What?
Yeah, there's like
What's
a
that?
live
How
stream.
do you get to it? How do you get to it?
Just Google
This
it.
Archspire AI.
Sure, you'll find it, I assure you. And it's just funny because I'm just using that to point out that everybody in the art community right now is freaking out at AI
Still
art.
alive. It's still alive. Jesus.
Oh yeah, it's definitely still live. You can leave it playing at like your Starbucks if you want to for 24 hours a day.
This is
But
fucking hilarious.
the but you know, AI art is like absolutely artists are freaking out one way or another about it because they're like, well, I what is this shit? I can't be replaced by artificial intelligence. Like, listen, we're way past that right now. Like, we're at the stage where you just need to learn to work with this, not against it, because
Yeah.
you've already lost the whole we shouldn't do AI art thing. And that's where I'm getting at is that like AI music is already a thing. There's some website that just can generate Meshuggah songs is the idea. And you just write in parameters to it, and it's been around for like a decade. And I'm saying the
Jesus.
evolutions of that kind of thing, where you just like press a button and it'll generate your next like Nicki Minaj song, and that's I could see that being an engineer in not too long from now, me pressing a series of buttons to generate entire compositions.
Yeah, how can you really attach yourself to something like that? You
I
know,
mean, if you
like
No,
don't
you
know, if you
can't.
don't
That's
know
what I'm
it's
saying.
AI,
Yeah, that's
you
what
know,
I'm saying. You have to I'm saying you want to learn to work with tools, not against them. That's all I'm getting at here.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, as a side thing where you're just an anonymous artist, not even
Do
an
you see this
artist, really.
comment in the chat about how there was apparently an AI rapper that signed to a major label?
All these
I mean, I'm
rappers
not
made an
joking about this
uproar.
stuff.
yeah, it's getting more and more.
So wait,
Yeah,
I gotta hear this AI rapper, dude. Does he spit fire or what,
Yeah.
dude?
whatever you want them to spit.
I know what they're
Oh,
talking about. I saw this story. They
So that means the voice is fake
we
too.
got a
He's like
link here too if you need
the
to check it
robot.
out
yeah,
later.
there you go.
Dude, so but that's the thing. It's like it doesn't
Mega.
spit whatever you want it to spit. It you just like set the code and then boom, let
Everything's
AI
different.
finish figuring like for
So it's not
example,
like
the first time I ever heard of this was this shredding the virus tour that we were sponsoring. The artwork for their flyer was an AI generated
Hmm.
artwork, and I had never heard of that before the episode. I didn't divulge it. Maybe I did, but I was just like, wow, dude, this is a real thing now. Like you can just like beep boop beep boop beep 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 boop boop And
Yeah, I'm
you
working
gotta
on a
fucking
project where they had the AI art. They're like, when we want to mock up a concept of something, we'll type it into the AI art thing,
Yep.
and then our house artist then takes that, chooses from a bunch of stuff, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna work with this and kind of, you know, add a bit of a human touch to this and like meld it to exactly what we want to be, and it saves us a ton of time. I'm like, that's happening right now. Just imagine just a few years from now. We don't even have quantum
Yeah,
computing
yeah.
yet, which is
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
this giant leap forward in speed that this stuff can
Insane.
happen. That I mean, you just can't. The one thing you don't want to do is be like, don't worry, everything's going to be the same it is right now forever, and I'll never be replaced by a machine. It's like,
Exponential.
no, we're
Yeah.
way past you're gonna be replaced by a machine. We're at the point where it's like, how do I work with the
it's
machines?
inevitable. When is it coming?
It's here.
You
Yeah,
know
it's
what I'm
here.
Have you
It's
saying?
already
seen
here.
how
For you
quickly
individually, you're like, and it's inevitable now with the way
the
that it
work
is. So it's just like,
in both cases, the reason I think people shouldn't be scared so much of it is that it's art. It's like this human subjective thing. There's not a particularly perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
The thing he brought up, the AI rap thing, that I could really see that working. Like that's something that I could see generating. What I don't see generating is like, well, whatever. I don't want to. I'm
I
gonna
was gonna
just.
say, do
This
you
is
think
gonna
it's,
get
do you
dated
think,
real fast when they
dude, you're
spit
talking
out
to
full
dated dudes though,
rock
bro. I'm
records.
only a few years behind you, dude. Like we're dated
But rap,
too, bro.
that's what Zach is saying. I mean, like they're gonna learn like the inflections of like all the mumble rap stuff. Like all
Hmm.
the people that have just been like making a career have been like kind of like lazy, but like being popular. Like they're gonna be like, okay, that's easy. Boom, whatever song you want. Boom,
And
here
I'm
we go.
anti that. I'm anti the easy. Like
But
for
how will you know
example,
though?
the
Because I
newest,
mean,
yeah.
it's like,
Well, I
if
will.
it gets
I
good
would know
enough,
just for being a seasoned like listener. Like you would tell human lyricism and
me
poetry
and Zach know
versus.
that you're not gonna be able to know pretty soon. Like,
All right,
it's
so
getting to the point
Zach,
where it's like
so
bananas. Yeah.
you think that
Yeah.
like AI can produce another Eminem or Micah Nine or Aesop Rock, like those
No,
types of dudes?
In
I
10
think the
years,
answer to
maybe.
that is an easy yes, and the question is when. But like that might be not that easy. Like because music, I haven't heard AI generate music that sounds like hasn't really sounded like art yet. Like for example, we've done like I said, there's the Arcspire thing
Yeah, it's
generating
playing in my
Arcspire
headphones right
songs.
now.
Oh, it is okay. So that I mean that's but I mean no one would miss.
But I'm
You might
talking
think, oh,
lyrics in
that's
a
cute, but
rapper.
like yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like lyrics might be the easiest thing it could generate. We already have AI generating entire like books of things, so that's not an issue. The
That's
issue
gonna
would be,
break
can you
my
make
heart,
it
dude.
into a voice that people connect with? That's a really big deal. I mean, are you going to tell me that Chris Cornell could be AI? Are you going to tell me that like Jimi
Yeah,
Hendrix's guitar playing could be AI? That's way
yeah,
off, I think. I don't know that though, so that's why I'm saying be prepared.
Yeah.
Be
yeah.
prepared. This is
I'm gonna
why,
I'm gonna do
you
a
know,
shout out real quick to Micah Nine. I mentioned Micah Nine, and I wanted to bring up his book in this because I'm like, he just came out with a new book. It's called My Kaleidoscope. Shout out to Parker Pubs for putting it out. This dude is the California lyricist for me, dude. Like you read this guy's raps and it's poetry. And I refuse to believe that AI can put it together like this, dude. But maybe I can be wrong in the next 10 years, but
Well, like what Zach's saying is like there's creative things that can be different that haven't been done before that we could blow everyone's mind where the AI can't catch on to it, but then the AI will just learn from it and just make it way sicker.
I know, dude.
That's the
So
only thing I'm
don't
worried
let
about. Was like,
AI get a hold of Micah 9 shit, because then they're just gonna fucking
no,
yeah,
don't let AI
run
get hold
circles.
of our nuclear weapons.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like,
Or actually, we should
let's
probably
keep this
stop.
basic here.
We should probably stop AI right now. I think it's probably a good idea. I mean, I've seen Terminator 1 and 2 enough times to like, no, that's not a good idea. But I mean,
Yet
and
we're
knowing,
basically doing it.
I know, and it's money, so it's like I remember when, like this is like an old Duncan Trussell stand-up bit when me and Anthony saw him back in San Francisco. He's like, this is a while ago, so 2014 or 15 maybe.
something back in the
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
dude. Yeah.
And he was talking about like how like Elon Musk at the time wasn't like a that big of a well-known name, but he was like Elon Musk just put $100 million to make sure that to start a committee to make sure AI doesn't get out of control. And I was like,
Right.
ooh, that's some fucking Miles Dyson like Terminator 2 shit. Like I'm like,
Hmm.
fuck, that's scary, right? That scared me right there. It was a comic.
He knows
should be
it's
scared.
coming so much that
Yeah.
he
I
put up
know.
that much money to try and stop it.
That's why
I'm
having
making.
kids.
I'm
is
laughing, but
scary.
I'm like seriously like, no,
like,
I
freaked
don't
out.
want anything to do with having kids. Like, there's this like this. It's an absolutely terrifying landscape. But I mean,
Yeah.
people thought that in the '60s, and I mean, I guess maybe they were right because it is a bleak, terrible world. But like, I'm just saying, like, it's not. It's always going to be a new set of challenges until
Yep.
the whole planet explodes, which is a definite possibility.
What if it's just we got technology close enough to human intelligence that we're now starting to be threatened by it? What if you think it's just
way
that?
smarter than us in many ways, and we're smarter than it in other ways.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Like
not smart enough to run shit yet, though. So it's like,
Are you
we
sure
still
about that?
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't say that, but
God
Are you sure you're
damn
not
it.
being run by
I'm
it right
not.
now?
I'm fucking
I'm
run by
not.
it right now, dude.
I feel like the government. I mean, not to be like
Which
political, but like
government?
I know. I'm saying just like a government in general, and like how they're like swayed by things. If it's like a robot doing it, like it has no like financial interests. I don't know. It might be.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's a little scary. I don't know. But
Unless you build financial interests.
oh yeah, that could be a
into
part
it.
of the AI too. Yeah. It's AI is like it's scary. It's a little scary. It sounds cool in the beginning. You're like, fuck yeah, dude. It's like helping us out and
A
figuring stuff
robot
out
will
for us.
clean my house, dude. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And also
Serve me
like
dinner.
yeah, clean out your family.
Everybody
too.
rags on them, but self-driving cars are extraordinarily more safe than human-driven ones.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanna
Nobody
I-
wants to be in that one car that crashes itself, and they're like, "Well, at least if I crash my own car and kill myself, that's fine."
on
But if
you.
my car
Yeah.
is that one, like, the way less likely to happen car that crashes itself, so people are anti-self-driving cars, but in their own, it's not in their own self-interest. You should be pro
It's
your
so
car
fun.
driving itself, but you're like, you want to be responsible for your own safety
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some
It's been
reason,
an
even though you're
ancient-
terrible at it.
It's been an ancient like desire for
Yeah.
humans to have a car that will drive you around. Like, dude, imagine just being like, beep boop, I'm going to fucking.
Why are you imagining it? You could get a self-driving car right now.
I know, dude. Well, yeah, if you got the money, but I'm just saying.
They're not that expensive. That's what I'm saying. Like that's just
No,
like
they're cheaper than
becoming more and
humans.
more a standard thing to have driving.
I actually want to. I want a
assistance on your car.
self-driving. I want a self-flying car, dude. I just want.
Yeah, where's our flying cars?
I know. That's what they said in the
That's the
future. I
number
saw
one
the
thing
movies.
that I've been
Back
bothered
to the
by.
Future
Everything
too,
in the
dude.
future
Yeah.
is here. Everything we were
Year
supposed to
2000.
get, we got it.
Yeah.
Dude,
But we
what
don't.
could-
We don't have flying cars.
What could go wrong? That's all I have to say.
Everything.
Like,
Yeah.
Literally,
What
Luckily, no
could go
planes have
wrong,
crashed.
dude?
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
like
people are
all the-
freaking out my
well-
town because there's a guy that drives around on like weird little like it's like it's just a single wheel and he has a helmet on. He goes like 50 like through the tunnel and in the freeways. And he's just rolling just like this,
On a
helmet,
wheel.
no pads, just like on a wheel. And everybody's like, it's so dangerous. If I get in an accident and kill him, like I'm gonna. Like, he's totally unprotected, and I just lost my fucking mind watching a bunch of people just get scared of something, like, basically xenophobic about, because it's like, you're not wrong that he's unprotected in an accident. He's obviously pretty good at riding it, and more
Yeah.
importantly, he's surely consuming less resources, and also,
Yeah.
there's no way that's more dangerous than a motorcycle, straight
I
up.
was just about to
Yeah.
say.
Motorcycles are so dangerous.
So
Yeah.
dude,
This looks about as dangerous, except he's not going to fly over handlebars. He's going to get immediately into a controlled roll.
Every weekend
Or
I drive
crash and
to the
die.
Sacramento area, and people are cutting lanes all day.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter what size motorcycle they have. You know,
But that's-
legal in
and
California. That's legal
But
in
that's
California.
that's why it's a big part of why it's so dangerous because people ride like complete idiots.
actually,
Yeah.
no, most of them, I'm saying, no matter how size
Yeah.
their motorcycle is, these guys know how to get through the cars, dude. And
I
I'm
always
like,
move over huge, and I
I
want.
do
want
that
the,
too, dude.
I want the wave. A lot of them give me the wave.
I
but
get
when
the
they,
wave, dude.
When
and
they
I
don't
love
give me the wave, I'm like, dude, you need to crash. Fucking.
Oh,
I get
I
like
don't
really
know.
mad about it.
here there's
You're
like
hoping for
people.
him to
I
hit
go
a
way
fucking
over. I go
rearview
way
mirror.
over. I get like way over in the other lane. Just when
Anytime I
motorcycle
see
coming,
You guys have
somebody coming, I
expectations.
give them space.
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, that must be scary to be fucking in between cutting lanes on a motorcycle, like, and you're just.
And then you're
I
like,
mean,
good on you, dude. Fuck this traffic. Like,
yeah. You're taking the risk. I'm not.
Get
Like,
your
you
fucking
you
loophole, dude.
Yeah, you get a
and-
fast lane. You get like a fast lane. You're putting your life in your hands to be at your home faster. You know what I mean?
I'm glad that you guys seem to fully understand what I'm saying. this idea makes no sense to like 95% of people. They're like, how is it different from a motorcycle? I'm like, they're like, because motorcycles have been in my life my whole life. This guy riding around on his weird little electronic wheel thing that's really fast is very new, and all I see is danger. I'm like, it's still just
different.
a human on a device where they're unprotected going.
If I had that, and then Joel pulled over, dude, and he had the windows down, I would hope I had like a pack of Skittles to just throw in his car.
That'd be
Like,
great.
thank
purple.
you, dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, the purple pack, hell yeah, dude, that's the best
purple
one.
pack. That's the best.
But I'm saying, like that's the way you just you're just unloading your pockets into people's cars, just like, thanks, dude.
Well, it's like, like truckers, like when you're on tour, like there's a code. The code is like they give you like a thank you for the flashing of the back lights. It's like 2 blinks. Like there's a whole code behind it. I appreciate in that sense. It's like, all right, we're doing it logically. So here,
not only logically, we're acknowledging each other. We're all doing this, and we're trying.
Yeah,
we're both trying to keep each other as safe as possible.
Exactly. It's like, and then there's that one asshole that's like trying to fucking go through everything and like, oh shit. Like I'm an offensive driver. I'm not defensive. I'm like trying to get away from the crazy people. Like when I see them, like I see them in the way back, like going through multiple lanes. So you're going to like Rockland. Rockland's got the widest highway in the United States. It's 8 or 9 lanes, and that used to be my fucking going home every day. It was a 9-lane highway. Like it was in like just people just going like, I'm gonna go 9 lanes over here, and I'm
gonna cut over insane. 9 lanes. How many times have I fucking seen that, dude? Where
Sacramento's got the worst drivers, I think, in the United States. I think it's been like over and over again. That's like my insurance went just like through the roof. And they're like, hey, you're going to Sacramento? Oh, well, $100 more a month. Like insane.
I will say though, something that I am annoyed about with California driving is now the fast lane has become the slow lane, dude. There's so many people that get into the fast lane that don't want to fucking drive fast. I'm like, dude, even cops are flying by at 75, 80. Like we all just agree that's like this. If it's safe, we'll get up to 80.
How do the self-driving cars navigate that? Because like I feel like a lot of times I'm like driving, it's like this puzzle of like, okay, the person in the left lane's going like 60, and then the person over here is going, and then this guy's like coming up behind me, and then he's gonna cut me off to the right. So behind me on my right. So then he goes all fast. And then I'm like, okay, now there's an opening for like, how does the self-driving car navigate all that? I mean,
that's a really good question, because I actually have that band Eviscerate, the singer of Eviscerate, he works for Tesla programming self-driving cars. That's like he's an engineer making the software for it, and I had no idea.
Wow.
Like he was like, I just thought he was like a
little do you know he's a thinker.
And then we went out to go hang out later, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm building the software for Tesla and for the self-driving cars. And he said it wasn't there yet, is what like overall it's not there yet, but he said it's pretty goddamn close, and he's one of the leading guys doing it. And he's just like this bearded death metal guy.
Did you hear about the horde of cars? And if you go around San Francisco, there's all these self-driving cabs. They're called like Waygos or something.
Oh, yeah.
You see them drive. I saw them drive by the show we played like last month. I was like, what the hell is that thing with like, it's got like a crazy, swirly thing up top. I thought it was like one of those Google Maps cars, but it kept driving by, and then I realized it's just like literally waiting. It's like probably going to pick up a passenger and then coming back and whatever. But apparently there was some incident where they huddled. They all drove to the same spot and huddled together, and like they like blocked traffic, and no one knew. Like the programmers had to like shut them down. So I mean, there are some weird things that are happening on these networks.
I was gonna say, dude, they're like already talking to each other. Like,
they just wanted to hang out.
No, that's already that's like the AI uprising already.
I get it.
It's starting, dude.
There's been concerns about certain AIs going sentient and all this stuff, but
I mean, it's artificial, but it's also intelligence, dude.
It is. One half and the other.
I mean, isn't it like intelligence always like wants to kind of like grow, or I don't know, like condense and grow?
Yeah, you have to set some sort of a. That's what the whole like point of like what kind of maybe Zach was getting with the sentient thing is like. There's, I think in programming these things, they're trying to keep like a cap on when things get kind of out of hand. Like, all right, let's chill out.
I'm trying to keep it like dumb enough to where it can't just go
Well,
crazy.
they put an AI thing on Twitter. I remember that was a big story for a long time ago. It was like an AI responding Twitter bot, and it was on there, and it just turned all violent and racist. Like, I swear to God, something like that. It was like
I was
super
gonna
brutal.
say I'm waiting for like the one drunk guy that
wasn't
gets into
expecting
it and
that.
has
swear to
an
God.
argument with its AI driver. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
everybody gets in and has their drunk arguments with
I'll send you the article.
Uber and Lyft driver. You already, yeah, it's probably already out there, dude.
I hope you're
I
thinking
just
of
wanna-
Johnny Cabs from Fifth Element.
Johnny,
Johnny,
Cabs,
Oh
dude.
shit! Right? Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Short Circuit. Johnny.
Johnny
Wasn't it
Five.
Oh no, I'm talking
Johnny
about Johnny
Five.
Cabs from
Okay.
Fifth Element, which
From
basically exists now.
Crazy.
That's why
Jesus.
That was a flying car.
What
right?
was the cab? What was the cabs
flying
from
cab.
Total
Flying cab,
Recall? Total Recall
I
had
don't remember.
had some
but-
AI robot.
Well, that was the dude, right? Who tried
No,
to
there
get-
was that guy,
Lebowski?
but there was also
Oh yeah.
the robot driver too.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't remember what it was called.
Oh,
Can't remember. Yeah.
I see Troy's
Hello,
here.
welcome to Johnny
Johnny
Cab.
Cab.
Total Recall.
Oh, am I in the
okay.
wrong movie? So
You are.
Johnny Cab is Total Recall, not.
And Troy is also a cab driver. Or he
Shout
was.
out Troy Fullerton.
He
Go
does.
check out
He knows what
his
he's talking about, dude.
go check out his Twitch page, Severed Troy Drums.
fuck
Fuck
yeah.
yeah, dude.
That's funny though that
Troy shreds.
I was on the wrong old
Well, when
movie.
you
I was
said
a
Johnny
decade
Cab,
off.
I was like, okay, wait, I've seen Fifth Element. It could be there, but actually, it's not Johnny Five because Bruce Willis is the driver in Fifth Element.
Oh, that's right.
Well, if we're talking about Bruce Willis, his cab driver is named Argyle.
Oh shit!
With the head? Was that the one with like the head on it?
No, I'm talking about shit. Was
God, I'm
Die
I'm all
Hard.
From... Okay,
Die
okay,
Hard.
Die Hard. Okay, gotcha.
Argyle's the guy who stays underground the whole time, chilling out, but eventually knocks out one of the bad guys. He's the cab driver. I've seen Die Hard a lot.
I just another memory that's just random as shit. In Fifth Element, there he's only allowed like 5 cigarettes a day, and
Yeah, right.
the filters are like 75%, and you only get 25%. And I'm like, damn, dude, if you were a cigarette smoker and that's all you get, 5 a day of that. Here we are, dude.
Wow.
We're in the Fifth
It's funny,
Element
that's
weeds,
like
dude.
That's actually a really good association to like the true modern existence is shrinkflation.
Yeah, dude.
Shrinkflation.
It really is, dude.
Shrinkflation is
I know.
a real thing.
I know
all
it
over
is.
the place all the time.
I mean, I've never heard that term, but that makes it automatically made sense to me. Like what you're saying.
it's a
insane.
real thing. Shrinkflation
Yeah.
is a thing. Like the package of like Genio turkey used to be £1.50, then it was £1.25. Now
Yeah.
it's £1, but because they don't want to raise prices of things, they
It's
just
like the little mini sodas or like the bag of chips that has all air in it. It's all empty, but like you open
Yeah.
it, it's got like
I
4
mean,
chips in it.
sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's like the choice from the beginning. But like, yeah, that there's often products like that choose to not make
Yeah.
the box smaller, or will just slightly make everything smaller.
Yeah, dude. I noticed
It's
that
very
about
common.
cookies, dude. Cookies from my childhood are not the same today. Like a Vienna finger, that shit is smaller than it used to be, dude. Come on.
Really, it's interesting.
Smaller than what?
It is.
I'm just kidding.
Snickers are slightly smaller, like the standard size ones. Like that was one of the things.
Well,
that
they
got
did, yeah.
some
And Joel was getting onto it too with sodas. They've made the smaller
flavor.
models with it.
11.2-ounce sodas. I've definitely seen a lot of.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Little
the thing.
cute cans. You're like, oh, they're cute. I'm gonna buy them because they're cute. But it's like the same price as they were like 4 years ago for like a
Same
normal.
or more, and
It's
it's
like
probably,
double price.
Yeah, they
Well-
always test this stuff. They decide what's gonna be.
what is a
acceptable.
Vienna finger, bro? Come
Yeah,
on.
what's a? I don't know what a
baby.
Vienna
Yeah,
finger
I don't know
is.
if Vienna figure is either.
Yeah, you have to explain it now.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
you're
just
being
it's
interviewed.
it's actually a basic. I'm being an idiot. What? It was a basic cookie. It's just a
say
vanilla
that.
cookie. It's. Oh, I thought.
I was looking through the chat. I thought someone called you that in the chat. I was like, who,
It's
who the fuck
if
talked
you
to
if you take a
Oh, okay.
Oreo, make
It's a Keebler.
you
Oh,
make the Oreo vanilla cookie or sugar cookie,
Oh, yeah,
and
that
you
was
Okay.
nice.
elongate it instead of being a circle.
Those are the
That's it.
cookies I didn't like as a kid that would get fed to us all the time.
Yeah,
they're just
that's
plain
what I grew
vanilla.
up on, dude. But then I just recently had one. And I'm like, this shit isn't the same, dude.
So,
They fucked
cookies
us.
I guess you're
dude.
making me want cookies, dude.
cookies are. I know. I just bought a bunch of cookies.
They probably took the trans fats out of them too.
But
Dude, it's all about
But,
those cookies that Joel got. That you got me into those. That are all like have like no everything in them, and then like at the bottom,
No everything.
it's like, dude. Well, it's like no dairy, no gluten, no this, da, 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 da. And then it's like
okay.
no, and it's all no fish, no meat, like no,
They gotta
no,
put
like
it
no
all in the
horns or
package.
something, like no
No
tusk.
horns.
I think
No
you
bones.
requested
it's like-
some sort of. Oh, you requested like a non
Yeah,
something.
but they're so
And I
good.
ordered.
Now I'm
I
all
ordered
over
them
it.
from that store, the chicken place. Okay, I don't.
No
I totally forget.
nails.
But but I know it's a vegan chicken place. But bringing it back on subject, Zach. So, what's Sick Drummer's been in here for a while. So,
Oh.
do you have a new drummer that's like blowing your mind out there? Like a new one that's kind of like Meshuggah was a big thing, and a lot of things have taken things to another level. Is there one that's like kind of more recent that's kind of like taking it up a notch, or is it kind of just stagnant?
Kenny from Imperial Triumphant. All right, that's mine.
Jesus, all right, dude.
I'm trying to like name this, but like I don't know if you're referring to like if people I'm working with or if you're talking about like just overall
Overall,
drummers.
Overall, just you being a music listener.
I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't know if that's a yes because I do think there's a lot of really great drummers around, like all over the place. I think what's really more noticeable is the baseline level of like. I don't know. You guys might totally disagree with this. I'm sure Casey has good insight into this. I swear to God, it's incredible how much better every young drummer is right now than they were 20 years ago. There's this weird thing where I don't know if it's how early childhood education thing that's happening, or if it's computers or what it is.
It's all
but
that.
Guys are like growing up playing just exceptionally better on guitar, bass, and drums. And everybody's singing worse and worse. But the guitar, bass, and drums, everybody's so bad. And then in the 80s and 90s, when I'd see, and even like early 2000s, I'd record bands that like just couldn't play. And like, it feels like everybody these days just learns how to play.
Yeah.
With so many better young musicians that are just like ready to go. Like, oh, I can play these very elaborate things. Oh, I can play Bleed by Meshuggah. It's no problem. I grew up on it. And that's what I really think it is.
Yeah,
it's like
that's what it is.
They grew up on much more difficult to play music.
They started their baseline to start on something was like insane. Like it was like the most insane thing we ever heard. That's what they started
Even if we just did like, even if we go real bass, like go more mainstream, like Slipknot would be really hard. It's very challenging drum wise or something like that.
Better Mudvayne, yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. Wait, did you just call them the better Mudvayne? How are those bands related even? They don't sound
I said the
anything
drummer
alike.
was better than Mudvayne. I was trying to get back at
okay.
Anthony earlier.
Yeah, oh, yeah, sure.
why is it
I
a
get that.
competition? I'm just
'Cause it's
you haven't
funny.
even listened to it yet.
I think it's funny. Sorry.
All right.
Well,
That's
laugh
so
so
funny.
I mean, I've
dude.
worked
like
with
laughing.
I work with a ton of great drummers, and I've seen a bunch of really great drummers, but like
Yeah.
nothing's like I feel like you're asking like what's this monolithic changed drummer? I don't know if I've seen anything quite like that.
Yeah, like a game changer that's like a game changer that changed your mind back when you were 20 something. Like to this day, you haven't seen something that's like really just changed everything for you.
No, not like that, but like I've seen plenty of stuff that's like just totally wild and
Insane.
like would never be thought of. I don't know if you guys saw Polyphia put out a new song that's a pop song, and I thought that
I
was
saw
like,
Polyphia a couple. Did you go to that show? It was at
No, I
a
didn't
at
go
a
to it.
Regency. It was like sold out, and there was no metal people there at all. It was all like people that
Yeah.
were just like, It was
Why would it be
nothing-
metal? There's not a metal band.
I mean, maybe metal musicians were showing up there.
I
maybe,
totally
like-
get what you're saying. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
That's what I thought was funny about this. That's what I'm finding more incredible because I've always thought, man, like we were just talking about this. Does tech death hit literal mainstream and how so? And then I saw that the other day. Okay, but I saw that the other day. I'm like, this is gonna be wildly successful. This song absolutely.
Oh, the
people are
Polyphia
gonna
one?
get weird. People are gonna get weirded out by it, by like there being vocals on it. But it's like
Yeah.
this entire
Polyphia is
concept
written
is
for
gonna work.
pop. It's written
Yes,
for
it
pop.
is.
It's totally like people are going like, People are
Yeah,
yelling the
you're
riffs
talking
out
about
like
that goat song, right?
like not
GOAT.
even not even
No,
the
I'm
goat
not.
song, not even the goat
No,
song.
I'm
I mean,
saying
what
that song
he's
is like kind of like where they try to
that wasn't even the
bring
loudest song that they played, like as far as the crowd response. Like what he's even talking about, like bringing
I'm
a
talking about
singer
the
into
song
it.
they had a guest singer,
Yeah, that
and
singer on it.
it's like
Yeah,
a pop
a pop artist.
track that
Yeah,
was really well produced and put together. And I was like, this works. And like the musicianship in it is at that kind of, it's got a lot of that tech death influence in it. And I'm like, this is
yeah.
interesting to hear them do this. I see a lot of people like probably are just like cringing at like, oh, but like, nah, don't
It's
do
getting
that to
so
us. But
big.
it's like, it'll happen to any. I've just been waiting for it because like every underground genre has its like time in the sun of where it's gonna suddenly become a big thing, and
Or like a pop.
that's a swing, but
Yeah,
somebody else is gonna hit a home run, like
that's what
or
I'm saying.
they
Yeah,
are, or somebody's going to at some point really get some of these sounds and really
they'll take an
pop them
aspect
up
of
and
it.
put them mainstream.
I
That's
think
Yeah,
gonna be really interesting.
they'll take an aspect of that, like a style like that, and they'll just make it like, okay, we'll refine it and make it like catchier for the masses. That's to me
well,
like
yeah,
Yeah,
Polyphia just nailed it. Like they sold out
and
their
that's
whole
sick.
tour. Their whole tour was sold out. Like it was
I
like
think that's great that
in
they're
But
doing it.
advance. Yeah, yeah.
that
I
would
was
be
like,
cool for like people to deconstruct and go backwards into like from the
yeah,
pop realm and end up
dude,
back into the underground because of that.
you have no
It
Right.
idea.
opened up a portal for the
the
mainstream
the
to funnel
opening
back
band,
in.
Anthony, I actually wanted to talk to you or like relay this, just like explain this to you because I was so confused about what Polyphia brought out this band from Australia, and it was like the Backstreet Boys with like Paul Gilbert on each guitar.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, what? And they're like, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Right? I was like, and people and these and they were children on stage, by the way. There's no way they're above 19 or 21 years old. They're children on there shredding. They're taking that Polyphia style. They're obviously sounding exactly like Polyphia on all the riffs, but they're singing while they're doing the same thing. There's like people there with like Sublime shirts going like just like in it was my brain was just like what the fuck. I was trying to like put it all together, and I was like, this is such a new thing. And I remember I posted a story, and I was like, they're gonna be like in arenas next time I see him. I think Polyphia is gonna be in an arena next time I see him.
I that's exactly how that was
Yeah.
like how I was feeling about this. I'm like, this has a real chance. That I actually really didn't like where they were going with the last couple of records, and I
Hmm.
saw this. I was like, I'm still not sure. I'm not sure this is gonna be something for me in general forever,
Yeah.
but this is gonna work.
You see
This
its
Massive.
here is gonna
potential, yeah.
work. We already
Yeah.
know. Like, I mean, Tim's gonna been doing hip hop stuff for a while and like
Yeah.
getting production stuff, but I meant like them as Bolivia could actually become.
Humongous.
Let's
I'm
kill it,
probably
baby.
or we're wrong and this is just gonna
Yeah,
fall on
yeah.
its face, but
Fade
like
out.
I'm just saying, like I saw that and I was like, okay, what's next? Where does this evolve to? What's the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
band? Is like I'm just like is Deeds of Flesh gonna suddenly go and
Yeah.
I
like
don't know about that. But
suddenly like put out a song that's gonna get 5 billion plays like Despacito or something, and like
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep.
like what's the weird evolution? Because someday something always happens from every genre, ever,
Totally.
like pretty
yeah,
much. There's been like, you look around, there's been like some huge hits that
I
make
saw the way
mainstream.
I saw the direction Polyphia was going, and I got what they were doing. It was kind of this kind of, it was very catchy but technical, and
Mhm.
they just had this kind of vibe to them that was kind of like made you do this to it. It's kind of the same thing about Animals as Leaders. They opened for
Right,
Decrepit
yeah.
when we toured with them, and like back in the day, and I was like, everyone was there early for them, and I remember like hanging out after them and being like, you guys are gonna be the fucking biggest band. Like I could just tell you guys, this is your first tour, I think, at the time, and everyone was there like packing in early to see them,
Mhm.
and I was like, and they just want to see, and they were all doing the same head motion, and they all like had this like kind of like virus that they caught, you know what I mean, and a good virus. I'm not saying it was bad, but
Yeah, their
yeah,
debut record was
amazing.
absolutely like I remember hearing that and being like, okay, this is different. This strikes me as very interested in different. I was bothered. I was like, okay, the production's really fake. These drums aren't real. I want to see where this evolves to. And then Naveen joins up, and I see them live opening for Veil of
And
Maya
you're
like a year later, and I'm
what?
like,
Yeah.
this is just gonna go. This is gonna work. Like this isn't gonna just like flash and fade away. This band's gonna actually continue to be a successful instrumental technical metal band. I don't know what
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
call them because they
Yeah.
really
Technical,
went
everything.
away from metal for a while, and then their most recent record, I'd say, is really heavy and really
And
good. I mean,
shout out to Tosin. He's actually went
yeah,
to the airport recently, and I saw the new Guitar World is Tosin and fucking Joe Satriani on the cover.
yeah, I
Like,
saw that one.
it's like, yeah, it's like literally, he is like a legend. He's like, it's like Tosin, Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert, Steve Vai. You know, it's like John Petrucci. It's like the Yngwie Malmsteen. Like those are like the guys now. You know,
Yeah,
for the shred stuff. You know, and it's really cool to like see like that kind of like new school kind of like a player be in the ranks with those. Even though like I don't really like listening to their
I
music
think
of Steve
you're.
Vai, but I mean, as far
But
as
you
like
and
to
me,
see
we're
them,
we're doing it from our age. Like that's not
yeah,
new. Like
yeah, yeah,
Tosin's like probably at least in his mid to late 30s. I'm
I
just
was gonna
guessing
say,
here.
seeing him with Reflux was when I
Yeah,
already
oh yeah,
knew
yeah,
that
yeah,
that dude was gonna be
we're just old
something.
enough that the legends are younger than us.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
That's
right.
really what this is. It's not.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's be real about this. It's not that it's weird that he's next to Satriani. It's weird that Satriani is still relevant at his age. That's really what this
that
is.
is, yeah. But I'm holding him in high regard because of my
You
childhood.
should. No,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
should. I'm saying
yeah,
that, but I'm
yeah.
like,
But yeah, yeah,
it's not weird. Like, if anything, it's weird. It'd be more weird if it's like a 20-year-old, which there
yeah,
are a
yeah,
few in the
yeah,
guitar scene that are like huge prodigy young players. And in
yeah.
drums.
Definitely,
Have you
definitely.
guys seen that band, shit, I'm gonna, Hammerhead before?
Uh,
I've
They,
heard of them.
yeah, they're
What?
like this, they were a, well, they're a thrash band of three brothers. They sound somewhere between like early Sepultura and Meshuggah, but
Yeah,
they were like 11, 12, and 14 when like they started like having YouTube videos get really popular. And I
yeah,
saw this band, I was like, I think this band might be the top of the list of bands I want to work with. Just because I was
definitely.
like, this would be really, really interesting to work with like literal children that are putting out like
yeah.
Yeah,
really
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking
good,
about. Yeah.
like they're very tight and good. And like now they're just, it's aged well. Like they've been putting out like music now, and I'm like, wait, this is literally like an early high school band. They're gonna be, if they stay together, like they're basically the gent thrash metal Hanson.
Hey,
No, that
I
makes
mean,
sense. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy, dude.
Which I
those
guess
types
is
of
also Pantera,
crossovers.
so sorry. Sorry, Abbott Brothers, but yeah.
And also too, like Polyphia played a Pantera song in the middle of their set the other night. They played
Which
Domination. I
I'm
was
sure they
like,
can pull off.
I mean, that was yeah. That's like because they're doing like the multi. I don't know. Anyways, they're insane. It makes me angry how good Polyphia is on guitar. I'm like, I try to learn. I learned Goat once for like a day, and I was like, Jesus, like this is not. It's just a different style of approaching guitar, and they're doing like we talked about with AI earlier. They're doing something new. They're like trying a different
Yeah.
style with
Well, that's
taking
what led
elements
me
of
to
others.
talking about them. Is I was just like, what's
Yeah,
every time people think that something can't evolve. That's why I was like, I'm like trying to think of this drummer question. I'm like, well, what's not just the people we already think of and like would name that are really great drummers, but like what's the next forefront of drums that's gonna actually everybody's drum solos.
yeah,
I'm sorry, they're all essentially been the same thing since Buddy Rich. It's like they're not really that different in concept. So then there's like, how are you gonna write? I don't know. I'm sure everything evolves. New beats kind of change and
have you listened to
dynamics
Leprous at
change.
all? Not to go down to. I know we're
No.
getting pretty late, but the drummer Bard from Leprous he's one of those like kind of hyper styles like Naveen kind of playing, but like a different
Hmm.
version of it, kind of more like prog version, like a prog tech version of Naveen, because Naveen's like feel like Naveen. It's funny because
Right.
Naveen was
Absolutely.
like has no idea what he's doing. Like He just knows how to make. That's what he tells me. He's like,
No,
I don't know what I'm doing.
I think
Yeah.
that's accurate. I've seen how Naveen
Yeah.
works. I mean, we work together a lot,
He
and
just
so
understands
I would say
it.
Naveen. No, but we're going back to what I was just talking about. Naveen was
Yeah.
15 when I met him, and he was
Yeah.
also the first drummer that I ever saw play bass beats. I think
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. What are we gonna see that's gonna be the 15-year-old kid next that we're like,
Like the
what the
next Naveen.
fuck is this
Yeah,
kid
yeah.
doing? What drums did he pull from? Because in Naveen's case, he's pulling really chopped stuff, and there's a lot of
Like
influences
gospel
going on
shop
there,
stuff.
Primus
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all sorts of little things, and then like lots of dying fetus. But like it's like a
yeah.
weird thing that made his kind of style. But I see lots of people that style's not that weird anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But things come along now and again that are just like really weird, and I can't visualize it or think of it right now with that. And
Definitely.
you made really good examples with guitar though. Like you're right. The Tim Henson, that is a really
Yeah.
that's it's not that
Different.
unique. I've seen it made fun of. Everybody's made fun of like how guitar influencers are all playing like weird like tappy.
Yeah, the
We're
acoustic
gonna
kind of.
tap in the natural harmonics everywhere
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But like, also, have you tried playing that stuff? Like
It's
you just
insane.
said, it's like it's insanely difficult.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really more. It's like a hybrid of some really difficult classical guitar techniques and jazz stuff,
Yeah.
and gent and very technical
Well,
fusion stuff.
making fun of it comes from obviously a point of insecurity, and people are like, "I'm not used to
That's what I'm
this,"
saying.
and yeah, it's like I'm scared of this. Like this is not a thing. I'm not going to back this. It's
No,
not.
I'm
You know.
excited when things make me uncomfortable. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
excited when like that's what I'm saying. Like that excited me because I was like, okay, well, I don't know how I feel about this, but this is definitely new. It's
Yeah, yeah.
definitely new.
Definitely. Well, fuck yeah, dude. I mean, we're getting on 3 hours here, and
You just
goddamn
said for
Zach,
3 hours.
like you. I mean, keep going, dude. You have this like really cool producer style, amazing engineer, but you have like so anyone that's like thinking about where should I record, I mean, fucking Zach will push you in the right direction. You might get your, if you have like this is the way we're gonna do it, maybe like like be more open because Zach will just tell you how it is straight up, and I love that. That's the best thing about Zach is that he will just be like, no, why would you ever do this? This doesn't make any sense. Like straight face, just like I don't get what you're doing. That doesn't make any sense in context. And that's one thing I love about Zach is that you're not your ego's gone. You're just like, no, I want to make the best product for you guys. Like this is what I'm here for. Like let's cut the fat and let's do it. And so that's my sales pitch for you. But
Oh, thanks
thank
for
you for yeah. I mean, hey, thanks for showing up and hanging out, man. I had
Mhm.
a really good time with you, and
Oh yeah.
hopefully see you at some shows again, and maybe give
Did you have a
you
good time with us too, dude? I mean, there's two
Yeah.
other
Say
guys
no,
on the
say no.
podcast.
No, but only because you
Joel's
said
just like,
so.
I had a good time
I had a
with
good time.
you, but we were all here too, dude.
I was scared by the live format, if anything, because
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done, maybe 8 podcasts before.
Mhm.
And there's almost always been something I'm like, oh, you got to go edit that out. I shouldn't have said that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
That's
why
why
I
we decided to
paused
do
a
it.
couple times.
That's
What's
why we
that?
decided.
Well,
That's why we
Oh,
decided to
just
do
to
it.
do the live?
Yeah, because we had people like hitting us up like, all right, at 9 minutes in, there's this one thing I say, can you take that out? Or for Casey was doing the editing. He's all
Yeah.
at 17 minutes, I say this thing, can you take that out too? And 42 minutes, there's a spark, like I say this guy's name, and I don't think that's cool. And it was like it just turned into this big thing, and I was like, dude, we gotta go live, so it's just like not
It's
a
out
thing,
there.
Yeah,
It's
it's
out
just
there as
whatever
soon
we
as we
say
say it.
is a thing, and yeah, that's why we decided to do it.
But you did fine, dude.
I'm actually the
I'm totally faded, dude. I've been high this whole motherfucker, dude, and now
The
I'm
comment
sitting
under
here
your face was really helpful.
That happens
like
every
the
fucking
presentation
episode,
of
dude.
it.
They always make fun of me because I look like I'm falling asleep or whatever. I'm listening
It's not
to you
drunk.
guys,
I think it's
dude.
more
I
pot.
don't think he's
It's a
drunk.
pot alert. I think it's a pot alert.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, it's
I don't
even
think
better
he's drunk.
then.
I
Dude, you're
enjoy
so
cannabis.
drunk, Anthony. Why are you so drunk?
I did a podcast
enjoy
once where
cannabis.
I think the podcaster was actually intentionally asking. He like softened me up, and then he tried to hit me with like a couple hard hitting questions, and I was like, "Whoa, I didn't see that coming." But I kind of enjoyed that you went in this angle of like trying to ask me like really pry questions, and then I was on another one that he's like, "Hey, don't worry, I'm gonna edit this, make you sound really like together and smart, get rid of any weird pauses he did." I'm like, okay, cool. But what he didn't mention is he also took out half of his questions it just made it a constant
Oh.
ramble of me.
So out of context.
So I do sound like I'm talking really competently. I give him credit. He clearly put work into like just making sure it was all flows, but like at the same time I was like, okay, he'd asked me a first question, but he had all the follow-ups and he deleted the follow-ups. But yeah, it makes the interview faster, but it also made it like sound like I would just go
One-sided.
on hour-long tangents and I wasn't. I was
Right.
like, whoa, that was weird.
Oh my god.
No, dude.
I don't know. I didn't hate that, but it was like it framed it so strange. So I guess I
So
enjoy
how'd
that
you feel
live.
about this? How'd you feel about this one? Give us a
Fine,
little
absolutely.
critique at the end.
Oh, a critique?
Yeah,
No.
why not?
No,
Anthony's
nothing to
self-conscious
critique. This is
right now,
exactly what it's supposed to
I
be.
am not.
do
I'm
live
actually,
streams,
I
though,
actually am
Anthony.
not
This guy.
self-conscious. What I'm trying to do is say that I know
This
that Zach
guy.
had a good time tonight, dude. So his critiques on other
I've been
podcasts.
doing. I was gonna say I've been doing the 3 hour, or I guess they're more like 2.5 hour live streams with Machine Head for a year now, and it's a lot. I think just like I kind of understand what live is better.
Yeah.
Like because I've ended up on camera plenty of times there, and it's the
Yeah.
same rules got to apply. You just have to have a brain and know not to like. Hey, maybe don't just literally say
the first
names
thing.
out loud,
Yeah.
and like. Maybe that's not a like I'm not ever trying to disparage anybody probably in a podcast, but like I gotta be careful to not say something that like maybe a band isn't ready to release a record and I say something about it. There's plenty of things I'm working on right now that I almost brought up. That I'm like, okay, I don't actually know that I'm allowed to talk about it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's just respect. dude.
And it's
Whereas
also
I
like
didn't know that maybe 5 years ago. I was like, okay, just keep talking, and then you're like, wait,
yeah.
did I say something I shouldn't have said?
No, us going
So,
live in
yeah.
the very beginning, I was like,
Yeah.
I was kind of scared. I was like, shit, I got this like nervousness. I was just like, okay, you can't take this back. Anything you
Yeah.
say will be held against you in the court of law. You know?
Don't
Yeah.
be nervous. Don't be nervous.
Yeah, but now it's like,
How
obviously
many
I'm not
weeks
nervous.
have we done live now? We've done
96?
well, no, 96.
no, probably about 6 months live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah.
When did you guys
Fuck
start
yeah.
this? How long ago?
October 2020.
Okay, so wow. Okay, this is about on its 2 year anniversary.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
coming
shit.
up on it, dude. And it'll be 100 episodes right around our 2 year anniversary, which is gonna be sick, dude.
Just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good- just a
Gotta
normal.
land
It's a
us more
normal. It's just a normal episode. It's no big deal.
We should just do it ourselves, dude.
Yeah.
No, we got other plans.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
but
fuck
yeah,
yeah,
dude.
dude.
Zach, dude, this was
Super
rad, dude. This is everything I wanted it to be. It made me miss you because I haven't
Will
seen
you remember
in
it?
person. Yes, definitely, dude. Come on. I'm not. You motherfuckers, dude. I enjoy weed. I enjoy weed. I'm gonna hit it one more time.
Okay. I have no
That
problem
was
with
that was the best. Sorry.
But
I
yeah,
might not,
dude,
but no one no one can tell that I'm out of this world right now.
Well, it's gonna be on YouTube. You can just rewatch it. Take some notes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's we're putting it on the internet, so it'll never
Yeah.
go away, dude.
Exactly. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right,
yeah,
good
yeah.
night, guys.
Good
All
night,
right.
Zach, and thank you
Hell
so
yeah,
much,
buddy.
dude. Castle Ultimate Studios. Hit up Zach at what your Instagram or what's the email you were throwing out in the beginning?
I guess ZACK Zach at castleultimate.com.
There you go, dude.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys,
That's
you
the
guys
simplest way to get a hold of me.
get bright-eyed.
He responds, too.
Mm-hmm. And that's your man. All right. Well, battleforgecoffee.com. Get your fix over there. We'll
Balfour's
see.
coffee's delicious.
It is. It really is. And like and subscribe to the channel, guys. Go over. If you don't have a Twitch yet, get over to Twitch. It doesn't cost any money to be on Twitch. At least I don't think it cost me. Oh, yeah. CaliDeathPodcast.BigCartel.com. Nothing over
Zero
there, but I'm
merch.
still going to plug it anyways. We'll have merch for you guys soon.
We
All
will.
right. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.